It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Great panel for you from Fast Company, Mark Sullivan. And we brought the All About Androiders in here from All About Android, Flo Ion, and Jason Howell. We're going to talk about Google I/O, of course, Microsoft's Build keynote, the sad demo that never happened at Build, and an unpackaging, an unboxing, I think the kids call it, of the Pixel 3a. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit This Week in Tech, episode 718, recorded Sunday, May 12th, 2019. I'm saving it for the nursing home. This Week in Tech is brought to you by WordPress. Turn your dreams into reality and launch your website at WordPress.com. Get 15% off any new plan at WordPress.com/twit. And by Helm. Take back your email, files, and photos. Own your own data with Helm, a secure personal server that lets you own your online identity. Go to thehelm.com/twit and save $50 off the Helm personal server. And by Wasabi Hot Cloud Storage. Thinking about moving your data storage to the cloud? Wasabi is enterprise-class cloud storage at 1/5 the price of Amazon S3 and up to 6 times faster, with no hidden fees for egress or API requests. Calculate your savings and try Wasabi with free unlimited storage for a month at wasabi.com. Code TWIT. And by Calm, the #1 app to help reduce your stress, relax your mind, and help you sleep. Get 25% off a Calm premium subscription at calm.com/twit. It's time for Twit, the show where we cover the week's tech news with whichever journalist we could get it to come in on a short notice on a Mother's Day. So that would explain why Jason Howell is here.
Oh, yeah. Only on Mother's Day do I ever
apologize.
Come on this show.
Your poor wife, who is a great mother.
You know what? They're enjoying the beach right now. I think they're doing okay. Yeah, they're doing all right.
Jason, the host of All About Android and Tech News Weekly, and he's here for a good reason, as is his co-host from All About Android, Florence Ion.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I told you to watch. This is for you.
This is it right now.
Yes.
Florence is also a host of All About Android, and both of them were at Google I/O this week.
Yes, indeed.
But we thought to balance the panel, we should also talk about Microsoft Build. So we have Mark Sullivan from Fast Company. Are you gonna take the Microsoft side of the show for us?
I'll try. I'll do my best.
By the way, we can get you a computer. I see you're using your iPhone to keep notes. If you'd like, we can provide you with a laptop.
This is a big week this week. There's too much to remember.
Well, you're telling me.
So I had the misfortune of getting up early to cover Microsoft Build on Monday. We streamed the keynote. It began in the most saddest way possible.
Yeah.
It was the worst demo fail I've ever seen, and I've seen some really horrible demo fails. But it broke my heart. Andrew Chaikin was there. He wrote Man on the Moon, which was the story of the Apollo 11 landing. It is the 50th anniversary in July. John Knoll was there. He's special effects at ILM, but before that he invented Photoshop with his brother Thomas. And the great article in Variety, credit to Yanko Records for doing the research. I think Yanko thought, oh, this is going to be great because everybody will see the demo and then want to know the story behind it. His story changed a little bit. But the story was that in 1999, John Knoll, who was at the time doing Star Wars special effects and Star Trek special effects, discovered he had always been an Apollo 11 fan, as anybody of our generation was. He was 7, I was 12 in 1969. And he found a treasure trove of telemetry data that NASA had and never published of the moonwalk, of the landing on the moon, the actual numbers that go with all of this stuff. And he started a project, now 20-year project, to take that telemetry and image it, 3D imaging, to actually create a CGI of the moon landing. Along comes Microsoft and HoloLens. This was going to be a HoloLens 2 demo. And weirdly, Tim Sweeney of Epic Games, who used to hate Microsoft and has now completely come around, said, you can use our Unreal Engine. And they created a HoloLens demo of the moon landing, starting with the launch of the spacecraft. They explained how You know, the stages worked. They followed it all the way to the moon. They showed the LEM, the lunar module landing on the moon. They showed Neil's, and you can actually see it. Fortunately, they taped the rehearsal because when it came time for the actual keynote, it's at 8:30 in the morning. Satya Nadella is standing off stage, and the show before it was a bunch of college science projects. The guy who was hosting the show was getting in his ear, stretch. He stretched for 20 minutes. We couldn't figure out why the keynote took so long to get started. He stretched for 20 minutes because the demo wasn't working. Finally, according to records, he ran out of things to ask the college kids. So he said, and now let's go to the keynote.
Yeah.
Chaikin comes on stage. Noel comes on stage. They're wearing the HoloLens 2. And they say, never mind. And they walk off the stage. And you knew, they said, this just shows it's harder to do a HoloLens demo than to land on the moon. And it was just like horrible.
That is a brutal
I don't know. That's pretty, I kind of like
it was like Michael Bay, remember the Samsung keynote? Where Michael Bay,
absolutely.
The prompter fails and Michael just goes,
you felt that defeat when that moment
This was
happened.
very much like that. Anyway,
it happens.
I only say that to refer people to the Variety article, and there's a video there. You can also see it on YouTube. It's on the Epic Games YouTube channel of the actual demo as it was supposed to go out, and it was really good.
At least they had a backup.
At least, yeah, right.
Thank God they did this. Yeah. I just
man, after all that build up too, with holding on to that data, having something very
20 years
to do
he'd
with
been
it,
working on this,
and for it to just basically be non-existent.
If it's doing the moon landing, are they also showing like the green screen backdrop in Hollywood
how they
where it was all
faked the whole thing
and how they put the wind and the flag or whatever? There's no wind, I think.
Yeah, the telemetry of all that is there.
Exactly.
Yes.
yes.
that's where it came from. It was the script.
Written by Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't they say they thought Stanley Kubrick helped with it, right?
Yeah.
Helped shoot it.
Yeah.
Do you think there are people who still believe that? I think there are.
There's a lot of
yeah.
people that still believe
Plenty
that,
of people still believe that.
They believe the Earth is flat too because they saw it on YouTube.
A few do, yeah.
The Venn diagram of those two people is probably
It's a related. Yeah.
But yeah, it was weird. It's like, I mean, that demo was over before anybody even knew what was going on.
Yeah.
They bailed on it so quickly.
They didn't waste any time. It was kind of like, well, come on, try at least. Boot the machine. But I think they knew that it wasn't going to work. And it really was kind of a fitting kickoff for the worst keynote I've ever seen.
Oh.
You agree, Mark?
I hadn't thought of that.
Okay, maybe that's hyperbole.
We
That's overstating
We do
it.
have years of Samsung keynotes to pull from.
It
They used to be
wasn't
really
It
bad.
wasn't Samsung bad. It wasn't bad in that way. It was just kind of lifeless and dull, I felt like.
A lot of it was. I mean, I think it was very geeky, most of it.
Yeah, which is good. It's a developer keynote. They're speaking to developers.
And it is Microsoft's
It's
niche.
right. And that's I think that's I read somebody was writing that's what they're trying to return to. They're trying to return
Your
from
roots.
to Bill Gates and hey, we're a bunch of nerds and we're going to make the best tools out there and you're going to love us for it. And
so I should give him a pass maybe because it's not showbiz. Steve Jobs
we've been
keynote
trained.
notwithstanding.
We have been trained, yeah.
It was more like
really
a pre-Steve Jobs idea of a keynote. And given that it's a developer conference, that's probably all right. They did make some very big announcements at Build. The one that I think is going to end up being the hand grenade lobbed into Microsoft's business model. They're putting the Linux kernel into Windows. Anybody want to say anything? It
turns out this Chromebook that I have in front of me also has the Linux kernel on it, and if I wanted to, I could run a Windows app on it too.
So it turns out and your Android device is running Linux. So it turns out really the year of desktop Linux happened. It's interesting because Microsoft has been trying to woo developers. And one of the ways they did it was with something called LSW, the Linux subsystem for Windows, which allowed you, it was an emulator though, it wasn't really Linux, it allowed you to run Linux binaries on Windows in a way that really honestly was not ideal, but it was to make developers feel better because they have their tools. But there were some real significant performance issues. And I mean, I really gave it the benefit of the doubt. I put it on a very fast computer, really tried, and even with the most recent version of LSW, the small file handling was so slow that you could just watch, you could watch the grass grow while you were loading files or compiling things. All the things developers want to do, which is process small files. So I think Microsoft, I asked Christina Warren about this a couple of weeks ago on the show. She said, yeah, we know it's a problem. And so their decision, she must have known this at the time. She was very cagey. Their decision was, well, why do it in emulation? Why just put Linux in Windows? So it's a special version of the Linux kernel that Microsoft, it's actually a fairly old version of the Linux kernel that Microsoft's going to modify to fit well within Windows. I'm going to go out on a limb. I think build 2025. Microsoft's just going to say, they're going to say, and now Windows is Linux. Honestly, they're just, why not? Why not abandon the Microsoft kernel entirely? You've already got the Linux kernel in there. This is just the beginning of the end for Windows. What do you think? That's crazy? Am I crazy?
No, I don't think that's necessarily crazy. I think that's a possible future.
I think what we saw at Build this year was really finally Microsoft saying it's not about Windows anymore. It's barely even about Office. It's about Office 365 and Microsoft Dynamics, and it's about enterprise, it's about Azure, it's about the cloud.
Yeah, I think that's where everything starts, is the intelligent edge. Azure is the center of the universe for Microsoft right now.
And for years, Nadella would say things like, well, we want to be, when they first announced the touch-first version of Office, it wasn't going to be on Windows, it was going to be in the iPad. What he said was, well, we want to be wherever our customers are. That might be iPad. That might be. They have great Android apps, right? I mean, Microsoft's apps on Android. Outlook is great on Android because they bought a complete. But that's another story. He used to say, but the best experience will be on Windows. He hasn't said that in a couple of years. He just says we want to be wherever our customers are.
That's, it's not just him. I mean, everybody I talk to at Microsoft is kind of telling this story about openness and customer friendliness and going where people are and not trying to leverage products and not trying to twist customers' arm to come to this platform and, do away with that one. And I think that's part of Satya's thing.
It might be why the Build keynote isn't as exciting, because infrastructure is not as exciting as the things Google showed the next day, right? The Surface stuff.
Yeah. I mean, really, there wasn't.
It was about plumbing.
Yeah, it was, and it was about developer-focused stuff, and there was some consumer-facing things, but not terribly exciting things, and some of it was kind of future tense. There was a few interesting things, like they're working on. We have spell check in Word, but they're going to build a tool. They're building a tool in there now that'll correct your, I say political correctness, but that's kind of a shorthand way of doing that.
You told me you were on right-wing radio yesterday?
I didn't do it. They asked me to do it. I was like, but it's they'll check your writing for inclusiveness or gender bias.
That is political correctness.
Yeah, it's a much better way to say it, because I think politically correct is.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that. But I probably shouldn't have had it.
It's a new category.
But yeah, I was hungry for clicks, so I did it.
Finally, somebody admits it. Microsoft Word is getting politically correct. So it's not a grammar checker. It's not a spelling checker.
It's way past that. I mean, they had a team of linguists and professors in to define these 10 or 11 different ways of reading your writing for you, and on inclusiveness and cultural differences. And it's their thing is they're going to try to warn you against saying something that you don't know you're saying because you're saying it incorrectly.
And as an old guy, I often stumble into traps like that.
Yeah, I have too.
For instance, I have said in the past, let's hear from the distaff side. Say, let's hear from a female perspective. And then somebody said, rightly so, where that phrase comes from. It's a diss on women, and you shouldn't say that. And I went, oh my God, because that's just a phrase that I grew up with, and in literature and stuff. And you give an example, Mike, in your column on Fast Companies. If you write, we need to get some fresh blood in here, Microsoft will suggest new employees instead. And honestly, fresh blood, I mean, that's a common phrase. But you're right. If you really think about it, it's kind of disgusting.
Yeah.
It's got a little brutality to it.
Get some fresh fruit in here, some papayas, some luscious mangoes.
That could go in a completely different direction, though.
There's a filter for that,
too. That's fair. Fruit is delicious.
You're not allowed to say fresh fruit anymore.
Okay.
I mean, we're getting congressman or mailman should be replaced by mail carrier.
Yeah, see, that's the gender bias stuff.
We're really getting more and more accustomed to allowing our computers to write for us, right? Like, this is not something that only Microsoft is doing.
Hello, Grammarly.
Well, absolutely, sponsor Grammarly. Also, Google has their smart replies. Like, these are things that I think when they announced it, I thought, at least as a result, refers to Google's solution. That sounds neat. That's neat that computers can do that, but I'll never use it. I actually use it pretty reasonably, and I almost don't want the person on the other end to know. You know what I mean? Because it's dead on.
I hope you don't know when I do it.
I think I know when you do it. I think we know that we're doing it.
I don't actually say okay sounds good, but Google tells me to respond okay sounds good because it sounds like a good reply.
See, this is an example of where Google has lapped Microsoft because they've gone from doing it correctly to doing it somewhat incorrectly. An English teacher would say, okay, sounds good is wrong, right?
Well, it's okay, comma, sounds good.
I just think Google's being very colloquial, and in a way, that's for what you're using it for, which is texting or email. That's better. You say, Mike, if you describe in your prose a disabled person, the AI says a person with a disability instead. I think actually...
I didn't know that.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Because it's first person instead of a passive voice.
Yeah, and it puts the person in front of the disability in the phrase.
Yeah, disabled qualifies person.
Yeah.
They're a person first. Yeah, I don't mind that. And I think that maybe that's me because I'm pretty politically correct.
It's a response
to corrected.
Where society is going, new societal norms, and a lot of us are learning a lot of new things now. I mean, I'm learning things I didn't know. It's not like I was born understanding or being able to say the right vernacular. But I do appreciate that it's something Microsoft is taking into consideration because I think in tech, we often forget to put people first in an effort to whatever innovate, et cetera. But I think sometimes the innovation is as minor as making sure that, everyone is referring to each other in a way that is not insulting or intimidating. Or I think it's important because those little things do contribute to a larger picture.
So right now you'd have to be using Office, right?
Yeah, this is for Word online, and I think
online.
Yeah,
not for the disk-based Office, the installed Office.
It may come to that.
It's a service on top of it,
right? And they're just starting to test it out.
And of course, you could reject the suggestions as you can with Grammarly or any spell checker. You don't have to.
No, certainly not. I think the reason it kind of struck me as interesting is it's just that it's kind of what you were saying, Flo. I mean, this gets into some areas in linguistics and culture that are very much in flux right now. And we're learning to talk about things differently with different sensitivities. And because of that, these are things that people argue about. They're they're a bit controversial.
It's not a given.
Yeah.
The other day I was listening to a book or an interview or something, and somebody said the word retarded, which of course we don't use about people who are developmentally disabled. That's obviously wrong, but as it turned, and I kind of went, but then I thought about it, and actually they were using it in the original meaning of the word to retard somebody's progress, to slow it down, and it was okay. I think some of it comes back to intention and meaning, but there are times when you can. So it's not always obvious if it's politically incorrect. I think it's good, though, to think about the words you're using. I don't have a problem with that.
It's intention versus impact. What is the impact of your intention? And if your intention hurts somebody, it's a bad impact. Then it doesn't matter what the intention was because it hurts somebody. That's something I live by. Personally.
And yet, I could also see, Facebook's kind of doing this. Words saying, well, that's fake news. If you asserted something, man didn't land on the moon. Well, that's fake news.
Yeah. It just erases
at some point, you don't want. I don't want any corporation to start asserting its cultural values on the culture. Do you? I mean, that's That's exactly. We've gone too far making corporations people as it is, but now to have them assert their values.
Well, I think that's one of the things that's keeping Zuckerberg up at night right now is, I think there's in some ways Facebook, and I'm sympathetic to them about this, is I think they are being asked to devise a set of values.
It's impossible.
You can't.
Especially not now, not with the floodgates, with how open they are.
Well, and it's a global environment. So what we consider in the United States is a given, women are equal. Yeah. That's not, there's plenty of countries in Facebook where they would say, what are you talking about? So this is literally, I think, an impossible task.
Yeah, I think that's what he means when he says, I've got too much power, but when he comes out and says that, and he calls for some kind of government help, that's part of what he means.
Help protect me from myself, please.
Well, it's interesting because he's not the only one saying he has too much power. His former college roommate, Facebook co-founder, wrote an op-ed piece, Chris Hughes, an op-ed piece in the New York Times saying, in fact, Mark's a nice guy, but he has too much power.
Yep. Yeah.
Now, Chris Hughes' own story is somewhat checkered.
I was going to say, who played him in the movie?
I don't know. Was he in the movie? Look at these guys when they were.
Wow.
He's had quite some hair over the years.
Harvard freshman. Mark is so young. And by the way, he's wearing a T-shirt that says, "My mom thinks I'm cool."
That was a popular shirt at Hot Topic in that era.
You think Mark shopped at Hot Topic?
Zuckerberg shopped at Hot
He
Topic?
did.
No.
We
Guys
all
don't
did.
Women shop at Hot Topic.
Oh, no.
Guys go to Hot Topic?
Oh, yeah.
I would always.
Get your spikes?
Or went. I don't know. Still go. Is it still?
Well, now it's like
I would go to Lids next
store.
door to get a cap while the girls shopping at Hot Topic.
Yeah, no. There were
Claire's.
boys.
Sometimes Claire's.
There were boys.
We need video surveillance
I
of
have
Mark
no
Zuckerberg
idea. I
in
did
Hot
not know.
Topic.
Mall culture is a completely.
I also worked at the mall for a long time,
so you know.
I got you
You're
on
an
demographics.
Expert. So Mark has 60% of voting control. That is unprecedented for any publicly held company. It is a lot of power. Hughes writes, Mark alone can decide how to configure Facebook's algorithms to determine what people see in their feeds, what privacy settings they can use, even which messages can be delivered. He sets the rules for how to distinguish violent speech from the merely offensive. He can choose to shut down a competitor by acquiring it, copying it, or blocking it. This is the thing I found interesting. Mark is a good, kind person.
Yes.
But I'm angry that his focus on growth led him to sacrifice security and civility for clicks. A lot of people took shots at Chris Hughes saying, well, now that you're a billionaire thanks to Mark, it's easy enough to say, well, we should stop.
Yeah.
And
people attacked him because they said he was going to run for public office, or his husband was going to run for public office, and that's why he did this.
It maybe would have come better from somebody else. On the other hand, there's nobody more intimately connected with Facebook. Yeah. He did not do any coding, but he was kind of the biz dev guy. He was they call him the social guy, the guy who knew what people wanted and helped inform the programmers who didn't know what people wanted about how to do Facebook.
This wasn't merely just an article on New York Times either. Like, it was a full-on media blitz. Like, he had appearances. Like, it was all timed perfectly.
Well, that is a little suspect.
It really, and that's what kind of perked my ears a little bit. It was like, okay, I understand completely where he's coming from, and I think this message coming from someone like Hughes carries a little bit more weight, considering he was a co-founder. But man, he really wanted everyone to know that he was talking right now, and that's a little suspect to me.
Yeah.
But maybe there's a reason for that, right? Like, if this is a message, if this is what needs to be heard by the most people, then maybe he is the right person to spread that news, because it really did get a lot of attention.
He says that he agrees with Elizabeth Warren and others that Facebook should be broken up. But a lot of people pointed out Facebook pointed this out immediately, we're not a monopoly. There's plenty of competition. Antitrust law does not apply if you're not a monopoly. There's no legitimate legal basis for the government to break up a company just because it's big and powerful. It has to be a trust, right?
Can't you make the argument that they're a monopoly? I mean, do you know how hard it is, the barrier to entry to get into the social networking space? Nobody's ever done it.
But what business are they a monopoly of? Do they have a monopoly?
Well,
you could say AT&T had a monopoly in telephones. You could, Standard Oil had a monopoly in gas. What is Facebook's monopoly in?
Well, it's a new kind of business.
That's the problem. We don't have any way to describe it.
It's they own the public square.
But do they really? I mean, doesn't the New York Times have something to do with the public square and Twitter and this show? And I mean, isn't the public square really a much broader concept than just Facebook?
The public square is definitely Facebook when you think about the global impact.
They're not a monopoly. They're powerful. I will grant you they're powerful, but they're not the only voice in the public square.
It's not like Google. I mean, just to
again,
as a comparison.
What Chris Hughes is saying and what Elizabeth Warren is saying, we should break them up, not because they're a monopoly, but because they're too powerful. And I don't know if there's any precedent.
What is the precedent for that?
You could also, I mean, you can also look at it as, well, Facebook's really an advertising business. That's where they make their money. And when you look at that part of it, Facebook and Google are in a duopoly. And the reason they're in a duopoly is because they own the data that's used to target ads.
Right.
And in that sense, there's some monopoly power there.
Yeah, but it's not a monopoly because Google, as you say, is a duopoly. Google is co-equal. Google and Facebook together share 80% of all digital revenue. Right. But digital is not all the ad space either. There's plenty of billions and billions of dollars in other spaces. Even we do digital advertising, but I don't think we can. I don't think we worry about Facebook and Google eating our share because we do a different kind of digital advertising.
I guess I don't know. I don't know how narrowly you define monopoly in this sense.
And I'm sure Congress can decide to do whatever they want. I mean, I know, maybe not. Maybe the courts would say, well, you can vote to break up Facebook, but you can't just, I mean, I would think the courts would step in and say, well, for what?
And there's this issue of the public good, too. I mean, are they harming the public good by being as big as they are?
Well, one way to harm the public good would be to say, hey, if you get too successful, we're gonna nip you in the bud.
And we'll decide what that line is.
That would be a harm to public good as well, right? I mean, that's what some say, is break them up. You're sending a message to entrepreneurs. Well, don't be too successful.
Don't get too big.
Yeah.
Maybe is that a message you want to send? I don't know. This is really an intractable problem because, as you point out, Mark doesn't know how to solve this problem. There's no structural problem. Mark and geeks in general say, well, the technology will fix it. We'll get AI to fix it. And we know that's not going to work.
Right. Yeah.
Government's not going to fix it because I don't think there's even agreement within government that they should be broken up.
Government's worried about other stuff right now.
Well, and there are those who say, Shoshana Zuboff among them, the author of Surveillance Capitalism, government won't do that because they're working together. That in effect, Facebook provides government with information it needs to surveil.
It's like RoboCop.
It's
just like RoboCop.
It's straight
like
out of RoboCop, man.
The OCP or whatever it's called with their robots that they subsidize the Detroit police with.
I just want to point out.
I haven't seen the movie, by the way. It's completely Wikipedia.
You know a lot about a movie you've never seen.
I read a lot about it last night.
That happened to me in college. Everything was just like whatever I read last night. It's just like that. It is just like RoboCop, absolutely. No, I think that somebody said, you sure perseverate on this subject, but I think it's the #1 problem in technology today.
The big thing right now.
It's clear that these big companies, Google, Facebook, Amazon, are so dominant that they are potentially harming society, but we have no idea, what the effect is, what the effect of changing that would be, if there even is a way to change that. It's almost as if we're set on a road at full speed and have no way of changing direction at this point, right? That's what it feels like to me, Mark. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I think it's been a long time coming. I mean, we have chosen a way that we're going to pay for web services. We like free things.
This is how it works.
And we have been on this track for a long time. And I'm, it's not always going to be like this. We're going to have different interfaces in the future. Computing is going to be different. We might all be in AR world, and
HoloLens when it works.
Right. Yeah. And if that does happen, somebody was reminding me the other day, we might really screw this up. I mean, it might be just ads everywhere in virtual space.
That's what Philip K. Dick thought, right?
Yeah.
He said that He had a short story where every surface of your life was covered.
Right.
with advertising.
Yeah.
We're pretty close to that already.
So not to get too far out, but it's a business model that I think has come into serious question right now, and I think people are looking for ways out, like paying people with Bitcoin for viewing ads and things like that. But it's hard to get out of it.
Once you give away something, it's really hard to start charging for it. You just you can't.
Yeah.
Hughes says there is a window of opportunity right now to force Facebook to give up Instagram and WhatsApp. He said, until recently they were independent, but time is of the essence because Facebook is working, probably because of this, to quickly integrate.
I thought that was
which
interesting.
would make it harder for the FTC to split them up. It wouldn't be so hard to reverse the mergers. That I think the FTC could perhaps do.
But if Facebook gets to a point to where these services are all merged and grouped together on a deeper level, how do you then pick it apart?
It feels to me like you're just chipping off a little bit of Facebook. If you chip off WhatsApp and Instagram, Facebook just creates those kind of services internally. It's not a huge deal.
Loves to do.
And it's not a huge deal. The blue Facebook is still the problem.
Yeah. That's what confuses me about all the, like Warren's thing about breaking up Facebook, and the idea I hear all the time is breaking off WhatsApp, and Instagram, but the core business, like the big public social network, is still there.
But I mean, and Zuckerberg's even said that the future of the business is not the core app; it is the private communications, it is the private messaging. Maybe that's
just like Chris Hughes. I feel like that's a message of opportunity. It's like, well, we better say this now.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Do you think there's reality there? I mean, do you think there's? I mean, maybe there's data suggesting that people are migrating to private rooms. Or
I don't know if there's reality there, but I think that's a pretty convenient thing given what we're talking about right here. If there is a time where suddenly WhatsApp and Instagram or whatever are broken off, I think the big blue app is probably doing a heck of a lot better than what Zuckerberg is saying there, and there's potential, like you said, Leo, to build these things in any ways. Ultimately, I think a lot of people are aware that something is wrong, that there is something.
I think everybody's aware.
Exactly. And so maybe there isn't a specific reason, an antitrust reason to go and investigate and to do something, but we all agree that something needs to happen, right? And I don't know what the solution is, but that's a really frustrating place to be.
One more thing Hughes says. Just breaking up Facebook is not enough. We need this one really scares me, a new government agency empowered by Congress to regulate tech companies. Its first mandate should be to protect privacy. That's fine. That's GDPR. I don't have a huge problem with that. He mentions GDPR and says we should have a similar privacy bill that would specify what control Americans have over their digital information. This is the one that bothers me. The agency should create guidelines for acceptable speech on social media.
Well, what did people say before they formed the FCC? How is this any different from that?
That's an interesting point. I mean, the First Amendment says government should make no law to abridge speech. The FCC was able to because it was a tit for tat to broadcasters. In order to use the public airwaves, we are going to require you to be licensed and to act in the public interest. So radio stations and then later TV stations had certain requirements, things like public service announcements, but also keeping the 7 bad words off, things like that, that were because, it's like our responsibilities on the highway. Because you're using the public infrastructure, the frequencies, we're going to limit you. But it didn't mean that the FCC could then say to a podcaster, for instance, who's not using any spectrum, hey, you can't say the 7 bad words. And they never asserted that they could. So I'm going to say that the FCC is doing something like a highway patrol would do, but that isn't offending the First Amendment, because you still have the ability to speak out. It's just you can't do it on the public airwaves in any way you choose. That's an interesting question. An agency that should create guidelines for acceptable speech on social media. I guess you could say, well, social media is the public's air. I don't know.
I guess that's kind of the argument that I was trying to make is, is there a similarity there? I mean, are we just talking about, we're not talking about the telephone system or broadcasting, we're talking about another
the FCC
platform.
Does not restrict what you can say on the phone. And if they did,
True.
That would be the end of the world. Even
Yeah, that's
though
a good point.
terrorists can use phone calls to plot, we've never gone there. And I don't think we should ever go there, even though you could make the case, well, we know that people are using the phones to do terrible, terrible things. We should have some restriction on that. But we've never gone there. And I think that that's because of the respect for the First Amendment.
Well, but what the phone doesn't have in common with the TV or with the internet is that it's in essence a private conversation, person to person, versus a wide broadcast.
And it's ephemeral.
Yeah, right. And
that's
as far as we know, yes.
Social media,
you put your voice
forever.
out there, it's gone forever.
Yeah.
But like yelling fire, there are a few examples in here. Yelling fire in a crowded theater, child pornography, speech intended to provoke violence, and false statements to manipulate stock prices.
There are limits.
Language around these things, like it's, in my mind, it's pretty relatively easy to identify language that would fall into those categories.
Oh, really, though? Do you think you could go on Facebook and see something? Oh, that should be who's going to do that? Oh, that's no. That post has to go. Oh, that post has to go.
No. What I'm saying is, like, yelling fire in a crowded theater. That's a pretty easy thing to like say, don't do that, and we have a really good reason why you don't do that. You cause panic. So if you're yelling fire in a crowded theater, I can hear that and I can know that that's wrong. Cracking down on any of this stuff in a social media perspective, like, I just don't know how you do it for exactly the reason that you're talking about. That language is what are the rules and ramifications, and where do you even draw those lines? I don't even know if
I don't want a government agency.
I don't even know if it's possible.
Well, that's not a disabled person. That's a person with disability. I don't want a government agency doing that. Maybe that's what this whole the Word document thing. maybe that's what it's created for. It's going to make sure we don't say the wrong thing. Here's my hope, and this is in my mind the only possible and correct solution, which is that we ultimately turn our back on these things. That we as people start to realize the destructiveness of these social media networks and start participating. I mean, that's all it would take.
I want to bring my mother into this on Mother's
Does she
Day.
use Facebook?
She sure does. And last time I was home, I really tried to talk her out of using it. And, her argument for staying on it is really simple. It's just like, this is my way. I'm an older person.
This is where my family is.
Yeah. This is my way of staying connected to this world.
This is where the people are. This is where the people are.
And it's like, what do I say to that,
I don't think it's
how do you replace that?
The tech that is necessary. I mean, I think the tech has definitely contributed to the problem. I think Mark Zuckerberg was a young person who had a big idea and did not think about the social ramifications of what he was going to do. Any person who took an international relations class in college would have known the kind of like gates that would have been open by connecting the world together, but not Mark. We've had these problems in the world since humanity has been on Earth.
We suck.
We do. Yeah. Humanity is terrible. We're awful to each other.
And social networks just let us see that suckage.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Let's all the people who suck connect with the other people who suck.
And
Not
I
that
think
your mother sucks. She's a very fine.
No, but she is. But she's using the tool that was given to her to be able to connect with people. Like, we don't connect that way anymore.
Notice that people under 25 don't use Facebook, right?
No, but they use TikTok. They use Instagram. They have Finstas. They have very different ways of communicating with each other, and that's going to evolve as they get older, and then they're going to have kids, and that's going to be something new.
But that'll end up breaking up the monopoly, right? Because there'll be the next
it'll
thing.
be a new monopoly.
That's a really good point.
It'll be a new. We need to think about it. This is a societal humanity problem. Mark is not going to fix this.
That's what I think.
And also like. America needs something against hate speech once and for all, because if Germany has it, where that you cannot talk about. Germany has it. Right. I don't understand why the United States doesn't.
Because you can't. Because it's very hard to define it.
Right.
It's easier in Germany because you say, well, the hate speech is Nazis.
Right.
And because we have this history that we are very ashamed of.
Right. But America has a history, too, of colonization
but we're not
ashamed.
We're not ashamed
about it. We're proud of it. That's the unfortunate part.
That Robert E. Lee, he was a great general.
Yeah. Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. I was shocked to see the states are now having Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day. I thought that would never happen.
They should.
Well, I'm not sure I disagree with it, but I just...
And give the land back, but that's another show. We don't have to get into.
I just was surprised. I thought maybe we are making progress.
Bit by bit, we have to, because what else are we going to do on this earth? Sorry, I'm a very existential person.
Are you an optimist? Are you an optimist?
No, I'm a Taurus.
We should do something other than sucking all the time. I mean, we should
find an alternative.
have other things that we know how to do.
We could blow once in a while.
So, you know, and social media plays in this way too. Social media has brought together so many people and so many ideas. And I think social media has contributed to why our conversation has become more progressive over the years, because we do have people coming out and saying, hey, I am a person with disabilities. This is how I would like to be. This is how you should refer to me, because when you refer to me otherwise, it insults me. I think these conversations we were not having because people were not listening, and now it's like social media, that's it, everybody. And
but that's a good point. Is there is a value to that?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
that conversation is being our eyes are being open. They are being woke. So there's good things
Awoken.
too. Awoken. Woked. Woked's not yoked.
It'd be nice to be yoked too.
You know, we had this. You like yokage?
Well, it's good. Do you know how hard it is for me to put the luggage up in the overhead? Anyway.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, next time I see you trying to do that, I'll help.
Because Leo is yoked.
I'm yoked. I'm yoked at the hip. It's an endless conversation, which we seem to have a lot on our shows. But this again, it's come up one more time, and the Chris Hughes piece really, I thought, brought it to the forefront. But
Absolutely.
I don't know. There's no answer, and it's just very difficult. Very difficult.
I want a soapbox. In
Facebook is going to get a big fine. They said $3 to $5 billion. I think now the Vegas odds are $5 billion.
Yeah, that's Google EU money. It's fine. They'll find a way to pay it.
Well, that's what some legislators are saying. That's a bargain, a slap on the wrist.
It's a bargain.
Richard Blumenthal and Josh Hawley are trying to pressure the FTC to increase the fine and, more importantly, to hold Mark Zuckerberg personally responsible. Billions of dollars would be a bargain for a company as large as Facebook, say Blumenthal and Hawley. By the way, Blumenthal, the Democrat, Hawley, the Republican from Missouri. The tech giant says it could be $5 billion. Lawmakers said even a fine in the billions is simply a write-down for the company. That's right, just helps them pay no taxes.
It's like Steve Jobs never parking in a right parking spot because he could just pay the ticket.
Right, just pay the ticket.
I think they already took the write-down, too.
They did.
Last
$3 billion they took, yeah. Large penalties have done little to deter large tech firms. What they want the FTC to do is limit data collection, and I think that's actually not an unreasonable thing.
I agree.
They want accountability targeting individual executives. In other words, Zuckerberg or Sandberg would be personally liable if any Facebook executive knowingly broke the law or its pledge to improve privacy practices, which they told the FTC they would do 8 years ago. Can you believe that? That was 2011. I don't know.
That consent decree was about just being transparent about what data they were collecting, and they just didn't do it.
They never did it.
But at least Facebook gives us plenty of controls to manage our data.
Deactivate.
Or I should not say our data. I'm no longer on Facebook. So
You aren't?
No.
Me
and
either.
you aren't? And I'm not?
Nope.
But I am on Instagram, and speaking to
you all should recuse yourself from this conversation.
Well, we have private groups now on WhatsApp. That's how we stay in touch with family.
You realize it's still Facebook, right?
Yes. But it's a little less noisy. I don't care about my aunt's political opinions. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, that's what I honestly think.
I'm happier.
It may not be enough, but I honestly think that people are getting wised up. Even your mom, Mark, and ultimately will do what is better for them and which is ultimately better for society. And I just don't think that this is going to be a problem. 10 years from now, we're not going to be sitting here.
It'll be a different problem.
What do we do
10 years
about
from now?
Yeah, it'll be TikTok users.
Yeah, what do we do about TikTok? You know TikTok's not going to even be around 2 years from now.
TikTok, the next Facebook. I'm telling you, Leo.
They're the next Musical.ly. I mean,
It's just a lot of work to make a good TikTok.
If we've learned something in the past however many years, we've learned that social media companies are really good at redefining themselves as they go down the line and going, hey, well,
Snapchat especially.
Yeah.
But Snapchat's been failing compared to Instagram, right?
Well, they came out with a new filter that got everybody using it this weekend.
What was the filter?
It's a filter.
Pikachu?
No, unfortunately. No, but I did use the Pikachu AR on the Pixel, which was really fun. No, it was a filter that shows you how you would look like as a man or a woman.
Oh, people were doing that to me.
Yes, like super...
Here's a guy who used the new Snapchat filter on Tinder and gets 1,650 likes and hundreds of matches.
On Tinder? I didn't think going that far.
There's the incredible Snapchat Tinder matchup we've been waiting for. So Jess is apparently a guy, but that's the filter. Oh yeah, wow. Jess is really a guy. Jess is manly. And this is the filter.
I looked
Jess.
great as a man for what
I
it's
looked
worth.
great
I
as a
looked
girl.
very Balkan. I looked very Romanian. Like I had a goatee, and it was
Oh,
like
so it'll add
and
facial
big
hair.
eyebrows.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I could see that. I could. I'd make. Yeah, my husband said I look like the kind of guy who just just goes through chicks.
Did it make him hot? Did he get excited?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
He looked great as a woman, but see, Snapchat. That's the only.
That's all
I've
they
had
got
in a
going
long
for
time.
themselves.
Honestly,
It's the
though,
filters.
so everybody's going to talk about it for 3 minutes, and then back to Instagram.
That's the world we live in.
I know. That's why I'm not
Yeah,
actually
it's
too
the way you
worried.
keep it installed.
I think people just move on.
Keep Snapchat installed and in your folder, and when you need it,
haven't
the
logged
new
in.
So I'm
23
sitting, I'm
weeks.
watching Microsoft's thing, and it was, it's fine. If you're an enterprise person, it's great. But I'm thinking to myself, wait till tomorrow. Wait till Google I/O.
Yeah.
Because that's when Google's going to show how to market to consumers. We're going to take a break and then we'll talk about that because both of you were there.
Oh yes.
In fact, you had a great show there.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you
All
do
About
with
Android.
All About Android? You had the woman who was showing
Steph Cuthbertson
Steph,
from the main keynote, and Chet Haas from the developer keynote.
Cool.
Yeah, it was a great interview.
Yeah. And you can hear that on the All About Android feed.
That's this week's episode of All About Android.
twit.tv/AAA.
Yeah.
And I moderated a panel with Hiroshi Lockheimer.
Right.
The head of Android.
No big deal.
No big deal.
MBD.
And how did that go?
What do you think?
I thought it was excellent. You even got a nugget about
did.
fuchsia.
I did.
So
Oh, because they didn't say the F word at all during the keynote.
No,
but Flo
no.
asked about it.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
I asked about Chrome's favorite color.
Oh, stand by.
Fuchsia.
Stand by. Well, and by the way,
That's a tease.
Flo, I don't know why I called you Clo,
Clover milk.
because we have
Cloverdale?
Clo the cow up here, the milk mascot.
It's true.
But Flo has a purple, or is that a fuchsia?
It's purple. It's purple.
It's kind of fuchsia-like.
Yeah.
It could be.
What's the difference between fuchsia and purple?
Fuchsia is more pinky. Purple is more like royal. Like
So she has
I think
a
that's fuchsia. This thing's got a little pink quality to it.
fuchsia-ish
it's the
tone
lights.
to her Pixelbook cover. She's got a fuchsia-ish silicone straw for her kombucha.
Yeah. Which was
But
also fuchsia.
it ain't nothing until you get her purplish 3A. We're going to take a look at that too, coming up in just a little bit. It's great to have you guys, the hosts of All About Android, Florence Ion and Jason Howell.
Yeah, good to be here. Thank you.
And from Fast Company, Mark Sullivan, senior writer there. The Sullivan on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's good Ed's not here.
Not even my mom.
I was gonna
even your
say it's
mom.
a good thing. Yeah, Ed's not here.
Our show today brought to you by WordPress. Actually, that's my blog host. I love WordPress. I've been using. Yeah, of course it is. Everybody. 33% of the internet is running on WordPress. I remember when Matt Mullenweg came out with WordPress, early days of blogging, early 2000s. I'd been using, Blogger and stuff, and I found WordPress. I said, this is it. I'm here. I hosted it, self-hosted at the time, but then WordPress.com came along. I just got my 12-year chip from WordPress. That's how long I've been on WordPress.com, and I love it because they do all the hard stuff. They keep it secure. They keep it up to date. They have thousands of themes, all the powerful tools of WordPress, and even better, they've got 24/7 support from actual WordPress experts, people who use the platform every day and know it. That's the best kind of support there is from WordPress enthusiasts. WordPress.com lets anyone pursue whatever it is they love by launching a site that's free to start and room to grow. And I'm not talking 2-week trials. Nope. No hidden fees. And most importantly, the reason you want to have a website, you own your own content forever. It's not Mark Zuckerberg's. It's not Jack Dorsey's. It's yours. Put pictures, video, music, text, whatever you want on your WordPress page. You can upload it anytime. You can download it anytime. It is always there for you. Everybody needs a place on the internet that they say, this is where I am. This is where I live. And it's not on Facebook. It's not on Twitter. It's on your own website. I tell this especially to teenagers who are just getting started in the world. Make that website. Put your best stuff up there so that when people Google you, they find you, that you control your image. WordPress.com is the easiest place to do it. And as I said, great 24-hour support, a very flexible platform. It's so powerful, so flexible. A lot of big publications use WordPress Fortune.com is based on WordPress.com on their VIP platform. So is Quartz. Millions of people use WordPress.com every day to turn their dreams into reality. LeoLaporte.com, that's a WordPress site. What's your site, Florence?
FlorenceIon.com.
Clever name. Good idea. WordPress.com/twit. If you go there right now, you'll get 15% off any new plan purchase. And you'll show them you heard it here, which we appreciate. WordPress.com/twit. 15% off. Thank you, WordPress, for all that you do. We love WordPress. WordPress.com/twit. All right, let's go from Redmond. Let's head down the coast a bit. Beautiful ocean view of the Pacific Highway. We get down to San Francisco. We keep going a little farther down to Silicon Valley. We see the big blimp hangars of Moffett Field. And there it is, Shoreline Amphitheater, next door to the Googleplex in Mountain View. And it's Google I/O time.
Yeah, and by the way, next to around there, if you're there this year, you couldn't help but notice the new structure that Google is putting up. This
I saw that. What is
gigantic?
that?
It's like a garden, right?
Yeah, I mean it looks like a just a I don't know, acres huge.
I thought it
like
was part of the
circus tent
shoreline.
made of metal.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like the roof of an outdoor venue.
Wow. Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is really something.
And I have a feeling that's why they stopped traffic from coming around there this year.
They were
so
saying
much
don't
construction.
drive, weren't they? They didn't want people to drive.
They discouraged people from driving. You had to take a ride share in was one of the ways that most people were getting in.
This is out of date. This is back in November, so they must have been a little farther along. But the idea is going to be almost like a garden campus under a dome.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's massive.
It'll have its own climate.
It's no Apple spaceship.
Its own president.
But it's pretty big. Walking by that.
Wow. So will it be like the headquarters? Is it going to replace whatever?
I'm not entirely sure exactly what's going on inside, to be honest. I feel like this is just Google going, "Oh, Apple's doing something big. We got to do something big too."
They don't have like a big standing HQ. It's just like, here's a bunch of buildings we own
campus,
sprawled across,
with
and also
buildings.
we share it with these other people. Because I
But
noticed
that was always the, it's like getting the cover of Sports Illustrated. It was always the line is the minute you build that giant new corporate headquarters, that's the peak. That's when you're at the top, and now it's all downhill from here, right? I don't know if that's the case. Google did, their quarterly results were down a little bit, right? They didn't grow as fast. They only grew 16%. Oh, please.
Paltry.
You call that growth?
I'll show you a growth.
Yeah, you got a growth right here. I thought they did a good job. The ending was a little weird.
The ending of what? The keynote?
Yeah. Because Sundar Pichai never came back.
No.
I'm done. See ya.
Yeah, he did the beginning. He's like, I got work to do.
And they had a nice momentum leading up to it. They showed some, I thought, really cool stuff. They showed how Google's Lens was, they've been showing Google Lens for years.
Yeah.
But it's getting better and better now. It can read menus, translate menus. Sure. They had a really moving video of an Indian woman who was illiterate, but could use Google Lens, the camera in her phone, to read things for her. She said, I don't have to ask anybody to read for me anymore.
Yeah,
I can
that
get
was
around. I can take the train. I can do stuff. It could translate foreign languages. It could read things out loud, which she needed. Mm-hmm. It can calculate the tip or even split the bill.
It can translate the sign into your language and then read that out loud to you.
So what's new there? They're reading it out loud? Because it's always been I've used Lens.
No, it's
this
just
is like
Lens
goggles.
now.
This was Google Goggles before that.
Yeah, I know.
Translate did this already. It's just now it's inside the camera app, so you just pop in there and you can use these AR essentially abilities.
Okay. I liked the.
And they shrunk it down. They shrunk
that
down
was
all that a
interesting.
bit. That was the real technological feat.
They talked about machine learning, the database from the machine learning being hundreds of gigabytes, which they could then shrink down to half a gigabyte.
Kilobytes.
Even. Get it on your phone.
Kilobytes even, yeah.
In a usable amount of space. That's pretty huge. Did they at any point talk about how, they didn't in the keynote, but maybe later talk about how?
Talk about how they were shrinking those data sets? No, not necessarily. They just said they were able to compress with a lot of work down to a point to where they can move these onto phones, and not just with the, language translation, but also they showed off an incredible demo, I thought, of Assistant working entirely on device. That was the demo where the woman had the phone and she just rattled off command after command after command, like with no pause whatsoever. And I mean, she was able to do basically Bixby-like controls over her phone because Assistant hasn't done some of these phone control things.
10 times faster thanks to this shrinkage.
And I think that's what's going to be a big selling point of the Pixel 4. I think the Pixel 4 is going to hinge a lot on having the space and the computational power to manage a lot more in the ways of the machine learning tasks that they're showing off there.
Taking a page from Apple's playbook of because Apple's always said we can do everything on the phone.
It kind of is. When I used to talk to Google people about this, they would always talk about, you know, the speed of the experience. If it ran on the device, it would be faster. But they are
has to go out to the net, get the response, come back.
But now they're definitely talking about the privacy aspect too.
Absolutely.
It's not just because of speed; it's because this is your stuff on your phone, and we have nothing to do with it.
They even made points about that you could build the knowledge base. You could do more training, but you could do it in an anonymized fashion. That. But on the other hand, I think Google was particularly unapologetic at this event about, hey, we can do more because we know more about you. They almost took the opposite tack to Apple, saying, yeah, you know, privacy's fine, but if you really want us to know what your favorite meal is, you're going to have to give us some information.
Yeah, I think even at one point they mentioned, and I had to check the quote exactly to see what they were saying, but my takeaway from it was, you know, we've been collecting your data for 20 years. Of course we could do great things with it. You know what I mean?
Like, we know everything there is to know about you.
Which, you know, obviously if you're very privacy minded and living in, I don't know, 2019, that kind of perspective is going to give you pause. But then at the same time, as consumers, we ask a lot of our technology and have for a very long time, and some of this stuff requires access to that data. And I think Google going into this was just kind of saying, yes, okay, we've got a lot of your data, but look at all the wonderful things we can do with it.
I think that's actually a smart tack because Apple, Siri is just not very good. And whether that's Apple's fault for some other reason or just that they don't know much about you, the fact is the fact, right? So why not say, hey, look, you can choose not to give us any information. And by the way, and Pichai said, this is a quote from the talk, privacy cannot be a luxury good offered only to people who can afford to buy premium products and services. Privacy must be equally available to everyone in the world. They double down on that. But at the same time, I think it's a reasonable thing for them to say, look, we do know a lot about you. Sorry, we're going to give you the tools to delete it, which they attempt to with Dashboard. We're going to they changed the setting in search that lets you delete information instead of keeping it forever. You can delete it after 3 months, or what was the other, a year?
18 months.
18 months.
Or
keep it forever.
Right.
I mean, it's not the most granular switch ever, but at least you can say to Google, okay, keep my data for 3 months. We need the data, but you only will get it for 90 days. So I think that that's a good thing to say, look, we'll give you control, but honestly, if you want us to do all this cool stuff we can do, you got to tell us some stuff. We got to see your schedule.
Yeah, I think I was kind of impressed with that.
That's the right
I think
approach.
I mean,
now you have a choice.
He was just very frank about it, and you know, I like this idea of, and this is kind of what you said about personal data being a transactional thing between human being and big tech company. If I get more in return than I have given, and if they are honest with me about what they're taking and what they're giving me, then I'm kind of okay with that, you know. And I'm not like Facebook did the opposite, and that's why I quit Facebook.
It's mealy mouth. Zuckerberg says, "Well, you can be private, you can be, but we still need all that information so we can make money." Google's saying, "Look, now notice there was no mention of advertising at all." I mean, honestly, that's their VIG. That's what they get. I mean, we'll give you all this stuff, but we're going to take the VIG, which is all the advertising dollars that information lets us generate.
I think he was asked about it. I don't remember where I read this, but he responded by saying, you know, it's only a small bit of the data that we collect that's even used for advertising. Most of the data we collect is for customizing services and personalizing services, things like that.
See, that's mealy-mouthed. I mean, even if it's true, he should just say, yeah.
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 Right.
It's for teaching the machine.
We think you want ads that reflect your interests. We do that. We give you switches to turn it off. If you don't like it, okay. But honestly, we can't do our job without getting all that information. I would love to see Google say, hey, if you don't like it, go to Apple. Honestly.
I mean, they're right across the freeway.
Consumers do have the choice, right? I mean, that choices couldn't be more stark. Really, the question mark is Microsoft, which is not known for privacy, but is starting to say, well, we want to be the privacy company, too. It looks good for Apple. It might be good for us. Yeah. I think Google and Facebook might as well just say, look, you have a choice. You can go with Microsoft Apple, or you can go with Google Facebook, and you tell us which experience is better. Are you Are you willing to pay that price? I think most people don't. I think, does your mom, is she aware of that?
Yeah, I think she is. I think she's one of these people that is asking, how exactly am I being hurt by this?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, would wonder that.
And I think she's already made the calculus, if not explicitly. She's saying, no, look, my family and friends are on Facebook. Yeah. I know she's not stupid. I know they collect information about me, but it's worth it because look what I'm getting. And I think Google could do the same thing. Maybe that's foolish. Maybe you can't. I always wish people were honest in advertising.
Google at Google I/O kind of went in both directions, right? Like on one hand, they were stressing, they were stressing the fact that, hey, look at all these cool things we can do with access to your data. On the other hand, they did lead the keynote, at least as far as the Android part was concerned, with a heavy emphasis on the fact that Android Q has privacy and security as one of its main focuses.
So you think they can do that fairly? They can actually protect privacy and still do their...
No, I don't. I don't think they can do that fairly, but I think that it's beneficial to them to be able to point out both sides, because if you sit on one camp, you feel fine about the fact that your data is being used, is basically your currency for all the wonderful things Google does. If you sit on the other camp, on the other side of the camp, then... which camp are we at, by the way? Then you've got controls within Android, just as one example, that are improving in Q to where you can, can button down on location sharing so that it's only running when you're inside of an app. They've moved privacy to its own kind of front line item in the settings pane, so it's right there. When you go in there, there's ad controls, like immediately. They're making it a little more visible for you to know that, oh, hey, I can go in there and actually make some corrections.
And they know most people don't care.
Most people probably are not going to even go in there and make a change.
Which is a bummer, because then you run the risk of having it not be totally user-friendly, and then people go, I didn't know that was there.
Yeah, well, they need to make it easy. But I think they can trust that most people will just go, forget it.
It's easy-ish.
Totally.
You have to go dig in there.
But make it easy. Go all the way. Make it as easy as possible. People will still not do it. They're not going to do it.
That's true.
But they're still going to get Google's still going to get the good pat on the back of like, okay, well, you're giving the options.
Right.
And,
give me options.
Facebook also gives options, but they
bury it.
They bury it, and they make it. It's an interconnected web, and it's just very confusing. I feel like Google does a better job of that.
Our goal,
it's not perfect, but better.
In a way, Pichai restated the mission statement of Google, which used to be, and he did put this up on the screen, our mission is to organize the world's information. This is from Ben Thompson's Stratechery article. Yeah, organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. But really, the new mission statement, I think, is, and much shorter, much sweeter, building a more helpful Google for everyone. We want to be helpful. And Pichai says, when we say helpful, we mean giving you the tools to increase your knowledge, success, health, and happiness. And we're going to make a little money in advertising. Big deal.
And yes, in order for it to be helpful, we do need access to your data, because we want if it's going to be helpful to you, person, your data is going to inform what makes it specifically helpful for you.
Ben Thompson uses the a term he made up called strategy credit, which I really like.
I like that too.
Which is it's a side effect. It's not, we're doing stuff, and as a side effect, we're going to make billions of dollars in advertising. It's a strategy credit. It's not a bad thing, Thompson writes. It's simply an observation that doing the right thing requires no trade-offs when it comes to the company's core business model.
Exactly.
And I think that...
And this is the idea that that Apple can talk about privacy so loudly because
there's no cost.
That's right. They can. It doesn't hurt them to do that.
Right.
It doesn't. You know, Wall Street's not going to punish them for doing that.
Right.
Google, on the other hand, and I read this a couple of times because I wanted to understand what he was saying.
Ben's tough. He's good. He's so good.
But I think what he's saying is that it's just kind of built into Google's business model that they're going to try to reach as many people anywhere in the world as they possibly can, regardless of their income. And that's just going to happen anyway. So why not go ahead and say, or, you know, hit back at Tim Cook and say, you know, your devices are meant for rich people, you know.
In effect, they said that, didn't they?
Yeah. And our stuff is meant for everybody, and we're going to deliver privacy there, too. So.
And they showed a poor woman in India who's illiterate. They showed Dimitri, who I think is a Google engineer. He might as well work for Google. He's the guy with the Russian accent and the speech impediment. Right. And they showed him training the assistant. I could barely understand him. The assistant could understand him easily. What they kind of mentioned was that it took 15,000 voice samples from Dimitri. That's why I think he probably works at Google, so that he could understand him. But I think that's part
Euphonia.
of,
that was Project
Euphonia.
Yeah, Project Euphonia.
In fact, they even said we're looking for more people. So if you have a friend or a relative, or you know, who has that the assistant doesn't understand very well, g.co/euphonia. We want you to help us so we can make better speech recognition. Yeah, you got to praise them for all of this stuff.
Absolutely.
I honestly don't think they're cynical about promoting this. I think they sincerely do want to be more helpful. And they understand that the engine that makes this all possible, the thing that pays for the moonshots and the research and the artificial intelligence, is advertising. You know, we're advertising supported. The thing that pays for all of this is advertising. I don't think that's a sin.
My career is advertising supported, really, when you think about it.
Mine has been for 40 years. I've been always in free media. I've never charged for anything I've done because it's ad supported, and I don't think that's a sin. I think lately it's been people have been acting like it's a sin.
Well, because everything is charging now.
Well, people don't like advertising. But honestly, I don't think you'd like the alternative. I hate it when I go to the Financial Times and I can't read it because I didn't pay the $50 or Bloomberg.
Just trying to learn.
The one that pisses me off is Bloomberg. What, like $60 a month? Don't you make enough money on the terminal? Come on. You're rich already, Michael. No, it's fine. He can charge.
Good point.
He can charge. But I think we prefer an ad-supported world. If ads would work. The problem that journalism has right now, I'm sure the Fast Company's facing this, is that people are using ad blockers, ads aren't working, and so it's harder and harder to good journalism on an ad-supported model.
That's why I drink Nestle Quick.
You should try Sport Tea. No, you know what? When we do our ads, I pull out the blue paper. I say, here's an ad. I'm not embarrassed to do ads. We try to pick products that are good and all that stuff. I think that's a virtue, and it is unfortunate that advertising, partly because ad tech has gotten such a bad rap. Facebook has done us a disservice, right? Because by collecting, by kind of skeezily collecting information about us. I don't know.
Ad fraud's a terrible problem too in programmatic.
It's a big problem for Google, right? As fraudulent clicks.
Yeah.
Thank God there's podcasting. What would we do without podcasting?
Oh, speaking of podcasting, back to Google I/O. They had announced that
it's out now.
Well, they had announced that they would bring live captions over to video and audio.
Isn't that awesome?
Which is like one step closer to indexing our precious podcasts.
Yeah. In Google
I
search.
think somebody said it's live now in search.
So podcast, Google now lists playable podcasts in search results. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, this is definitely
that was 2 days ago.
Although I'm a little annoyed that I searched for Twit and I keep getting This Week in Trump. That's not Twit.
Oh boy, that one made me.
Wow. Yeah.
That gave me a reaction.
Somebody told me it was live in search now, that if you search for content in a podcast, let me see, I'll do a different one. Security now.
Well, so This Week in Tech, and I get play buttons. I think the news was that
because I said Twit probably, right?
Yeah, I did This Week in Tech, and I was able to get the last 3 episodes embedded with play buttons next to.
But wouldn't that only be an Android Q?
No. This is in their their search product that they're bringing podcast indexing of some form.
This is huge, by the way, for our business.
Absolutely,
very, very big.
Embedding in the search results, and I think there's a lot of crossover here between what you were talking about in Android Q with the live caption and the stuff you're seeing on YouTube with that auto captioning and the indexing of podcasts into search. This is just the beginning. At some point, it's going to be possible for you to plug in a search and to have the actual content of podcasts to be pulled back, because that's easy for Google to index at that point, right? They can already do that, so you better believe they're working on that.
College is going to be a lot easier for your children, by the way.
But I'm sad to say, not a lot cheaper.
Yes, exactly. If they ever get there.
My daughter graduates on Saturday, and all I can think of is no more checks, no more checks, no more checks.
Congratulations.
A lot of years writing checks, a lot of years. Both kids are out of college. Thank you.
That's amazing.
3D images will be popping up in search results. This is good for advertising, because if you search for New Balance sneakers, you'll get an image of New Balance sneakers.
Right, and then you can place it as they showed you. You hit the little button
on your foot
in AR mode. You place it on your bed next to your outfit.
Yes.
And, those reds match.
That's what I do when I shop for things, because I'm not just gonna buy stuff to hoard into my home. I'm trying to buy things that go with what I have collected in my wardrobe, because that is how I express myself. And so I like that use, and I'm not gonna shop at Amazon for it.
But what if Amazon has that feature?
They do have that feature, but I don't like, they always give you the bad brands. They always give you the cheap knockoff brands before they give you the
Amazon brands.
Yeah, they give you the Amazon brands, and it's just like, I'm not spending $17 for a wedding dress.
I thought that was kind of an exciting moment in the Google thing. Included the 3D and the AR stuff in search results, because AR has been kind of like coming slowly.
It's been kind of reduced to having Detective Pikachu in your images and stuff like that.
It's a hit with my Instagram crowd, so.
No, but I agree 100%. You know what? The biggest one to me is going to be the AR walking directions when they release that.
I actually tested those. That's pretty cool.
How did it work?
Where did you test them?
They had a little thing, and we did a little tour of downtown San Francisco, and we were holding phones.
But I want to see you test it at 7:30 in the morning on Second Street. On 2nd Street, coming out of the BART station, because I still use maps to this day, even though I'm Bay Area and lived here my whole life. I still need a little help knowing which direction to go. And I've gotten bumped, like, for using my phone. I've gotten people say to me, like, put your phone away. Like,
when you're walking around the street like this.
And just like people are trying to get to work. They do not need you standing and being like, okay, Google says I should go this way.
Cool. It's got a pass-through camera. It's okay.
I
promise I'm not just reading Twitter.
Just because I've had unfortunate experiences of pissing people off in downtown.
And that's like that's their number one use case too. It's like when you come up from out of the train, like this thing's going to show you where you're actually at. So, and the little blue dot, you could be totally.
So one of the things you have to do is you come out of this BART station or whatever, and they want you to take pictures of the buildings first to orient it. Did they do this in their demo?
No, we didn't take any pictures.
Yeah, well, not take pictures, but you have to hold it up.
Like calibrating it.
Calibrate it, because it has to look around, right? And say, where are we? Because you're doing that.
Yeah.
In the Google I.O. app, actually, they had a little preview of this. They had map terminals throughout the whole spread at Shoreline. And in order to orient it, it wasn't showing the actual layout, because, of course, it was a temporary layout for just those 3 days. But you would... Go away, assistant. You would point it at this, almost like this sign which had something that kind of looked like a QR code, but it wasn't really.
Yeah.
And that was how it oriented. And then when you lifted your camera up, all the tents and everything, you saw these little balloons popping out of them that said sandbox or live demo or whatever. And so that, so in that true AR mode, you knew exactly where you had to go.
Daniel Suarez style demon AR, where it's popping up little informational bubbles.
It was really neat
over people. I love that, but I also love the idea that it says turn left here and shows an arrow on the sidewalk that says that way. I need that. It's only walking directions. It's not, while you're driving. I mean, it's probably less useful, but whenever I'm using maps for walking, I always turn left when I should turn right. It's just never obvious.
Same.
So having that arrow go that way, dummy. By the way, I found your $17 wedding dress. I've been searching. And thanks to Hello Beautiful, I'm Monica. This is turning a $17 wedding dress into my dream wedding dress. You can do it. There's nothing you can't find on the internet. I'm just saying.
The vision, the execution. yes. But I still paid a ton of money on my wedding dress.
Looks pretty good
anyway.
for $17. That's pretty good. That's an Instagram wedding. She's actually not really married. It's just, I don't know. I don't know Monica.
I don't know Monica either.
But Monica clearly
she got some increased.
I just want to point out
today.
All these pictures of the wedding dress do not include a groom in any of them. So
no.
I'm just saying, she doesn't actually say I got married in it.
But she found the dress of her dreams for when it happens, and it was only $17.
She's ready.
She's gonna hold on to that.
Boy, there's a lot of pictures of her by herself on the beach.
Hashtag editing. Google I.O.
We'll do more in a second. I'm going to take a break. One of the things people do, and I did, is with Google, is we're a little nervous about Google holding all of our mail. I finally got off Gmail. And the solution is difficult. You can go to another email provider, but then they've got all your mail. And it's not that I don't trust Google particularly. It's just that no one should have all my mail. That's 12 years of my life, and I never delete anything on Gmail. I found something so cool. They actually came on the show, on the Screensaver show. This is called the Helm. It is a personal, well, it starts as a personal email server. Actually, now they've added some new features that make it a file server and a photo server as well. So there's a real challenge to doing your own email. This is the Helm. It looks really cool, by the way, doesn't it? It's a pyramid or a triangle-shaped server, 128 gigs of storage, SSD, very fast SSD, upgradable to 5 terabytes. It takes about 5 minutes to set up. It has Wi-Fi or Ethernet. The challenge on doing your own email server, though, is complicated. First of all, almost certainly on a residential internet connection, you cannot send email. They block it. They will block it. And even if you could send out email, almost all email providers, including Google, will reject it if it's coming from an IP address that's a personal IP address, because they're almost always in the black holes for spam. So what Helm does is very clever. Your mail lives only on your server, but in order to send it out, they route it through their own IP address at Amazon. They route it through, and that IP address is a specially conditioned IP address so that your email will be accepted everywhere. They also use email authentication, the big three, DMARC, SPF, and DKIM. By the way, I just saw a study of the top 20 Democratic candidates for president. Only one of them is using email authentication. They all need a Helm. DMARC, SPF, and DKIM. That helps your email get through because it says, yes, this is who sent it. The data is fully encrypted. Keys are stored on a secure enclave on the server. In fact, there's a really cool feature when you first set up your Helm. They have a very cool-looking USB key you attach to the Helm to copy your recovery keys off, put that somewhere safe. Even if you lose your server, if your house burns down, Helm is backing the encrypted data up. They never have access to your data, and you can get all of your email and data back from the Helm servers, but you'll need that recovery key. It's secure boot. No one can hack it, and the authentication is proximity-based. Two-factor through the Helm app. You put the Helm app on your phone. You authenticate by standing next, using Bluetooth LE, standing next to the Helm server, and that's how you create the account, create additional accounts. Unlimited email accounts. I set up my own domain for email, but you can have multiple domains. They interview Micah Lee did a great piece on The Intercept, which I highly recommend if you want to know more about the Helm. Micah is an expert who has taught like journalists how to protect. The Intercept is, of course, where Glenn Greenwald and Snowden stuff ended up. Micah has taught journalists how to protect themselves. He set up an Helm server. He wrote all about it on the April 30th article about Helm. So read it. It'll give you all the information at theintercept.com if you want a more technical look at it. He really drilled down. Now they added Nextcloud. So this is really good. Nextcloud is the open source file server. So you can get file sync, file sharing. You can back up all your photos to the Helm, which means you can upload, view, and share your files and photos securely. This is a great replacement, not just now for your email, but for Google Drive, for Dropbox. I am just such a fan. Privacy's a right, not a setting. Protect what matters with Helm. Right now, we've got $50 off the Helm personal server, thehelm.com/twit. I only have one thing to say, though, I see on the site. It says sold out. That's temporary. They're making them as fast as they can. These ads work too well. I apologize. But if you go right now, they're accepting deposits. So the minute they get more shipped in, and actually you'll get the next generation, which is nice. The minute they're in stock, you'll get yours. It won't be too long. This sometimes happens with our advertisers. They sell out. Thehelm.com/twit. I can totally vouch for it. It's what I'm using for my email now. It is so. By the way, it's good looking enough that you could actually put it on your coffee table in your living room. There's going to be more all the time. They're adding to it. It has 2 Type-C connectors, so there's really some extensibility built into this. These guys are really smart. Gary and his team did a great job. Thehelm.com/twit. If you're so inclined, and theintercept.com if you want to read Micah's really, I thought, a very good piece. Very balanced piece on the Helm. You can see all the details. I was really pleased to read that. Hey, you got a phone, at least, right? Google did not hand out new Pixel books because there aren't any. I'm sorry. Did not hand out new Galaxy Wear or not Galaxy Android Wear watches.
Oh man, very little on the wearable.
They've really beefed up Android Wear. I thought maybe they'd have a new watch, but no.
No.
But they did hand out phones.
They did.
This is the Pixel 3a.
Which I'm literally unboxing as we talk about it.
Oh, you haven't opened it yet.
I just took the seal off.
I want to see it because you got every year Google does black, white, and a weird color. Last year it was pinkish. No, it was not pink. Sorry.
Yep.
Not pink.
Now it's purplish. And you got the purplish.
2 tabs.
I did.
There's another one on the other side.
Oh.
Yeah.
That would
It's
make
easy to miss.
sense.
Jason and I have both unboxed it.
I
Now,
did
you
the
got
same
the big
thing.
one, Jason, right? You got the XL?
Yeah, I got the 3A XL, the 3-axle.
So I took out, Karsten, our producer, bought one because he's a Verizon customer and he's been using an old OG Pixel.
It was time.
I thought it felt really good.
Yeah.
It does. You know, it's a cheaper phone. It's what is it? $499.
$399 starting.
Yeah.
This one is $399 starting.
So it's it's not budget price, but it's a lot. It's half as much.
Oh, it starts up.
$400 less than the.
I'll give you the
Pixel.
3-axle to put next to it.
It's got a cute little
Oh, you
neon
got
button over here.
purplish too.
Yeah.
We did. We couldn't help but both gravitate
Twinsies.
towards.
Twinsies.
Yeah.
So that's a slightly bigger. That's
It feels a
6
little
inch.
lighter. It feels a little lighter than the Pixel. Not as dense
They
as
are
the regular
a little
Pixel.
lighter.
Well,
Absolutely.
but you know, plastic isn't such a bad.
But it doesn't
material.
feel like a plastic phone.
No, it feels good.
the same as the material that's on the regular old.
Now
Pixel.
here's the key: it's the same lens on the back, right? Same camera, same software, but they did eliminate that special processor, the image processor.
So they did some software enhancements to get the same.
Are the images as good?
Yeah. Yeah. the
Everybody
images are
seems to
great.
agree that it might be a little slower because it doesn't
wouldn't
have
know
the
yet.
extra
This-
processor. but
This
the-
is a mid-ranger that you buy if camera is your top priority.
It's the best camera
as far as
at
I'm
that price.
concerned. Yes, for this price range, I mean that I've seen that I know of. Yeah.
What's the OnePlus going to cost? Do you know? It's not going to be this inexpensive.
Well, the OnePlus is a flagship.
The OnePlus 7 or the 7 Pro? I mean, we don't even have
We don't even
pricing.
know.
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
no. We're going to
And
find
that's
out
a
on
flagship.
So
Tuesday.
this
So it'll
competes
be-
maybe with the Moto G7?
Yes.
Yeah,
This
more in that
competes.
price range, I'd say.
Much better camera. Pure Google. I mean, the Moto's pretty pure, but this is pure.
It's so pure, it's going to get updates right on time.
I mean, the Moto G7 $199 to $299. So this is
Okay,
maybe a
it's still a little
little
more
bit
expensive.
higher than that,
Okay.
but yeah, ish around that area. I mean, they're gonna discount these. You're gonna see these on sale for $300.
So
I think you already are.
It's not unheard of, but it's rare for a company to announce a phone less than a year after its most recent
Yeah.
phone. They announced
It was
the Google
buzzed about so much.
the Pixel 3. Well, I think that they made it to replace the Pixel 3 because it wasn't selling very well. It's my theory.
Yeah, and I mean, this really, in my opinion, this places a lot of pressure on Google to come out with a 4 that is much different than what we're used to seeing, because the 1 through 3 all have the same design approach, all have kind of like a minimalist presence from Google as far as features are concerned. 4 gigs of RAM on their flagship, Pixel 3 always seemed like not enough RAM compared to other flagships. And then now, they're showing that they can do 4 gigs of RAM and something that's half the cost with the same camera that everybody knows is why you buy a
There
Pixel.
aren't a huge number of concessions in this compared to the Pixel 3, right? I mean, this is fairly close. Is the screen as good? Some said it was better.
The display, so apparently it is a Samsung display. I like the display. It's a 1080p display. If you've got the smaller version,
OLED.
if you've got the regular 3, they're both 1080p displays. If you've got the 3XL like I have, this is a higher res display than what you'll get on the 3A XL. But still, 1080p, it looks fantastic.
Even on my Galaxy S10 Plus, I don't use the full resolution. I make it 1080p because it's better battery life, and I can't tell the difference.
Yeah. No wireless charging. Yes, headphone jack.
I thought this was
that's
a
right.
huge
Wait, where is it?
retrenching.
Oh, it's
No
on the top.
notch.
No notch.
No notch. And a headphone jack.
Right here. Look at that.
God bless you.
Look at that. And then on the bottom
Do you
here
think,
we have USB-C.
so is that
and some
Google
speakers.
announcing? Yeah, they put the speakers on the bottom instead of on the front. But do you think that's Google saying, yeah, we might have made a mistake with the notch and the headphone and no headphone jack?
No, I think it's just cheaper to do it this way. You know what I mean?
It's not
they
an
were
edge-to-edge
aiming for
display.
a cheaper device here, and they had to make some sacrifices in order to do that. Not to mention the 3, not the XL, the 3 had no notch, right?
Right. I don't have a notch on mine.
So they don't have to do the notches on their displays anymore. And
They better not.
Yeah,
All of us
we'll
want 'em.
certainly find out what they do. I just feel like it places a lot more pressure on Google to really do something different with the 4, because right now, if someone asks me, someone on Twitter asks me, I've got the 1, I want to upgrade. Do I get the 3 or do I get the 3A? And I'm like, if you have to buy now, 3A.
At this point, no one should buy the 3.
No, you don't buy the 3. If you can
Unless-
wait for the 4, because maybe there's going to be
Why
some really
should I
cool
spend
stuff.
$300 more for a 3?
Water resistance if you really want that.
You're not going swimming with it. Anyway. Is it...
You're right. I'm not going to go swimming with it. You're right. I went to a water park, and what did I do? I put my phone in a locker because I said, not doing it.
Even when I
Paid
have a
way too much
waterproof
for
phone,
that.
I put it in. Yeah, I don't
way
go
too much
swimming
for
with
it.
it.
Storage is a little slower, right?
Yeah, and
UNC.
you know what? And the processor inside is, it's
not
a
a-
more of a
Mid-range.
mid-range processor. And
Snapdragon
I will say that there are certain times
Does
where
it
I
feel
see a little
slow?
bit of, I wouldn't say slow or sluggish, but there are definitely times where you launch something and it takes a skip longer than than maybe used to with a premium flagship.
And on that note, I will say that I was very frustrated with my Pixel 3 over Google I/O because that's like the real stress test of these phones.
Oh yeah, it's
You gotta
taking
take
into
a picture
account.
real
And,
quick.
but also because I'm going between Android Auto and just like jumping out of my car, I was just moving everywhere last week, and I had to restart the phone a couple times because Bluetooth would break between my car Rove and my watch. Sometimes things would just slow down to a crawl.
So, did Google ship this because... Okay, I'll give you a multiple choice question.
All right.
Yes.
Did they ship it because the 3 was too expensive? They said in their quarterly results, we were facing some headwinds at the high-end phone. So they weren't selling them very well.
All right,
No
but
kidding.
they
Ship
were
it-
creating this well before that. Well before they
So
knew
you
that
think
the 3
they always
wasn't going.
planned
Yeah.
by I/O to have another version of...
I do. I think that they've had mid range in their sights.
Unlike
for a
the
while
Pixel 3 and the 3XL, they were able to get this into all the carriers, right? That's another change.
now. Almost all. AT&T is the only exception.
So that's huge for them.
That's
Do you
big
think
because
the
I
carriers
mean
said, well, that's choice 2. The carriers said, we're not going to carry the high end. Give us something cheaper.
why wouldn't they carry the high end? I don't
Because
understand.
they know their customers won't buy it.
well, maybe
customers
they
are gonna
will
say,
now.
"That's too
like,
expensive."
yeah,
Because
I don't know.
Samsung probably pays them more money, and
Yeah.
Apple probably pays them more money
they
to
do
be
carry
front
the
and center.
Samsung.
And the
Yeah.
Samsung folks, they go in there and they train the employees. Like you get
I have to
them
be
on
honest.
this-
I like the S10 so much better.
S10's
than the
fantastic.
Pixel 3.
You like it better than the
Much
Pixel 3?
better. The Pixel 3 has had all sorts
even the
of flaws.
interface.
Yeah. And the Pixel 3, lots of problems, honestly.
It
Lots
has
of
had
I've not
problems.
encountered very many problems,
Oh,
but I
come
know
on.
there are a lot of people
Stuff
that,
was,
that were
you
that
couldn't run 3
say the same
programs at
thing.
the same time. They would crash out.
Wireless charging doesn't work for me, by the
They
way.
would. The,
Oh.
the camera would stop. There were all sorts of problems with the. And somebody here's an article, by the way. I don't know if this is accurate, but some people are saying now that it's the well-being, the digital well-being, that is recording everything you're doing on the Pixel phone. If you turn that off, it's much faster.
I haven't read that.
Well,
But I think there's memory management issues on the Pixel
yes.
3, and I think that's part
there
of
have
this.
always been memory management
Yes.
issues in
They
stock
never
Android.
fixed it.
It's been like that since the Nexus devices.
Yeah, that's true.
Quite
That's
honestly,
true.
I mean, because all the Pixels have treated me the same. It's by the time I/O would come, which is a good halfway after they launched them in October.
You got really
I
comfortable
would
with that
start
phone.
to really feel the slowdown, and then I would say, "Well, you know what? I'm doing this for a living anyway. I guess I'm going to buy the new phone in October."
It feels to me like Google, that you're right, they must have been working on this all along,
yeah.
but it feels to me almost a desperation move, like, oh God, we made this too expensive.
No. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think
that they all along planned to have kind of a
Yes.
high-end and a mid-range phone.
they needed this for the developer set as well, because there was no way that they were going to have a phone that cost that much money for the developers.
That's what Nexus
coming
always
from the
was.
Nexuses.
It is, and there
Yes.
there were at least a couple of Googlers that I spoke to that I didn't have to mention Nexus. They were the ones that mentioned
They should have
it.
called this Nexus.
No,
The
because
Pixel
then it
Nexus.
doesn't have consumer. Then it doesn't have consumer appeal, because this one you put it. Hey guys,
Yeah.
it's the Pixel. It's the same Pixel.
I mean-
you know, with that great camera.
mean,
Look at the colors.
Seriously, so I've been using the 3A since Tuesday when we got them. I ended up with the same case as I have on my 3XL, right? My SIM's over here in the 3A. And I really would not know the difference. In my daily use, I've been using the 3A, and it's very rarely that I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right, I'm on the 3A. I still
Honestly,
kind of
that's
think I'm
kinda
using
what
the same phone.
Honestly, that's, I think, the problem with this.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of interesting that they did that, because in some ways they're shooting themselves in the foot on
Why
ever
pay
moving a
more?
3. At this point, most people are going to say, well, you get the camera, and that's really, at the end of the day, that's the big selling point of Pixel right now, is that excellent camera.
And the assistant, the integration of the assistant.
Sure. Well, yeah, and the software, Google's dedication to
You're getting the
upgrading
Google
software.
experience is
You're
what I
getting
mean,
their
versus
experience,
Samsung's version versus OnePlus's version.
Yeah.
And for me, that was always a big day.
I
It's a
should
great
point
phone,
out,
I have to say,
that this quarter, smartphone sales in North America fell more than ever in history.
Oh, interesting.
People are running out of money.
People don't
Spice
want
stuff
to
everywhere.
buy smartphones.
Or
And
their
it's-
phones are good enough.
It's Apple, but it's also Samsung. It's also all the other phones.
Oh, my friends on Apple phones, they're using 3-year-old, 4-year-old iPhones, because to them, they spent $1,000 on that thing. They'll,
That's the
gonna milk
problem
it.
when you make them that expensive.
Okay, because guess
and
what?
don't give
$1,000
people
is not.
and they don't give you a compelling reason to upgrade. That's the
Yeah.
other problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in fact, you started saying that. How is Google going to get people into the stores this fall? What are they going to do with the Pixel 4 that's going to make people buy one?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm curious to find out. I think that they kind of hinted a little bit to what we'll see in the Pixel 4 in the keynote, where they were talking about moving more of the machine language onto the device. That assistant demo, from what I understand, was done on a device that's still unidentified. And so I'm guessing that the 4 is going to hinge a lot more around speed, along with the smarts of their software, of their AI happening on device. So that you've got your mid-ranger that can do a lot of really neat things, but if you get the premium one, you can do things faster, you can do things more securely. So much more of that is moved onto the device. And not to mention, they really need to, like, this single camera approach has been awesome. I mean, they've done a lot with it because they have the software to back it up. But they need to get with the times and realize that, these other phones that they're competing with do have multiple cameras, and those are actually in demand. People want a wide. People want an optical zoom. So take your software, your amazing image software, and apply it to these multiple cameras.
Take your
and then people have
machines.
more of a reason to believe that Pixel is the phone camera.
Is that going to be a 5G phone? The 4?
Oh, the 4? That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like right now, if phones are 5G, it's like, oh, and we have this 5G model, because 5G is still nothing.
I mean, Android Q will be
I don't know
5G
if
compatible,
Pixel
but
4 would.
Yeah, that'll depend on.
Do you think enough
Yeah, you're right.
carriers will have 5G in 2020 that they'll...
Not where it matters. Not where it matters.
It's not. It's just
No,
not.
it's bullshit until 2021.
Yeah. Actually, one analyst I saw, I don't remember who it was, said by the year 2025, an entire 30% of America will be able to get to 5G. That's 6 years from now, 30%.
Oh,
So
playing the long game.
I doubt very much Apple's...
Meanwhile, in Europe.
Apple's probably not going to do a 5G phone next year, maybe not even for a few years. I doubt... I mean, maybe Apple will, because there's some evidence that that's why they kicked Intel to the curb and signed a deal with Qualcomm.
We think it's going to be 2020.
2020.
For the
next
5G iPhone.
So not this year's phone, but the next year's
Right.
phone.
Yeah.
But who's going to drive that if you can't get 5G?
Verizon.
Well, I think that may have been part of the thing with the settlement with Qualcomm. because Intel was failing in the delivery.
No, it's pretty clear. That's why Apple said finally, okay, fine.
Yeah. And it's great that those two got together again because they really need each other.
Well, it was only hurting each other.
They were hurting each other, yeah. And it got kind of ugly, and there were egos involved, and they're much better off now. So I think that might make it might pave the way for the 2020 iPhone. I think that's what they want to do. But
again, so great, you got a 5G phone, but there's no carrier in your neighborhood that's doing 5G. What's the event? And in fact, by the way, there's structural problems with 5G. You got to put in a hell of a lot more sites because it doesn't go very far. And there's not really much evidence that even when you do get 5G, it's not going to be necessarily even faster. So you're going to have to convince consumers there's a reason to pay for a 5G phone besides bragging rights.
Yeah, I think there's pressure on carriers right now to start getting some of the money back out of their investment in 5G because the equipment is expensive, the radio density is higher, and I think there's pressure from Wall Street on them to start. And I think that's why they're out there spreading the BS about 5G.
5GE.
Yeah.
That's AT&T's fake 5G.
Yeah. And
so maybe that's it.
And they're not the only ones that are doing that either. So it's going to be, it's not going to be 2020 before it's fully ready to go.
Unless you live in a major metropolitan area, you're not going to have access to 5G. And I predict even if you do, because of the cost of putting in enough 5G cell sites to make it faster, you won't even see faster. Maybe you'll see lower latency. But honestly, nowadays, if you've got LTE, you're probably as fast as you need to be. What are people doing that they need to be more than 20 or 30 megabits?
Some of us like to stream.
But 20, you can watch Netflix on your phone.
Especially on a screen this big. Like, you don't need to stream 4K on a screen that big. Or maybe you do. I don't know.
I feel like we're being sold a bill of goods with 5G, honestly. We mentioned EMMs. Oh, actually, let's finish Google I/O, and then I'll talk about the sad story of the Tesla EMMC media control unit. There's a tease that's going to keep nobody listening. Boom. Leo, I don't care. We mentioned Euphonia. We mentioned a smarter assistant. Interestingly, Google's going to add some privacy features, including the I'm having an affair mode. We call it the what is it? The Ashley Madison feature. The incognito mode in Maps. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't go there. I didn't do that. Great. Maps and search. The Ashley Madison feature.
I'm waiting for incognito mode on the OS level in Android.
Yeah, that would be
throw it into my quick settings.
Yeah, let me look for weird things.
People overestimate the anonymity of incognito mode, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's not really incognito.
Right.
It's just really hiding your history from your spouse, I think, mostly.
False
Google knows where you are. Your ISP knows where you are.
Yeah.
The police know where you are. Let's see, what else? Oh, this is a surprise. Cross-site tracking is going to be blockable in Chrome. Google's really balancing this. What does ad tech need with what do consumers want? And so far, I kind of like the direction. They're moving a little bit more towards consumers. They're also solving this big problem with Android security by moving more and more components into the Play Store.
Absolutely. You're talking about Project Mainline. Mainline, as far as like my walk away, one of the things I'm most excited about is Project Mainline. I think it promises to be even more along the lines of what Project Tango started a couple of years ago, as far as
Treble.
Sorry, not Tango.
Treble.
Tango's long gone at this point. Too many projects that Google killed, by the way. Treble. Componentizing the OS, Mainline is further doing that and updating in the background. I just think, as far as security updates, which has long been such a huge critical thing with Android, failing miserably at keeping phones updated when it comes to security, this has the potential to help, because they worked with OEMs in order. So essentially, if an OEM is going to install Q on the device, it has to be okay with the fact that this this is happening underneath the scenes. And if this was in place when stage fright happened, then Google could have easily pushed out an update to the media codec, and it never would have been an issue. Just
would have been a fright.
But to play the other side of it, it starts with Q.
Yeah.
So the vast
Absolutely.
majority of Android
go.
phones, which are still on Android 4, Android 3, Android 5, Android 6, never will get updates.
Well, we don't know. That site hasn't been updated in a while.
But no, it has actually now it has.
Oh, did it?
They updated it as of Google
okay,
I/O.
Okay,
Yes.
the platform numbers got updated.
Yeah, they haven't updated it for like 6 months.
in a way, I thought, oh, Treble and Mainline, the idea will be to get these old Android phones at least up to snuff. They'll never be up to snuff.
It's here forward.
So it's kind of a trailing edge. You're gonna in a few years, phones sold from now on will be upgradable.
Yeah.
That's better than nothing.
Better than
all
nothing.
Google could do. This is what happens when you have an open source OS. You just there's nothing you can do about it.
We're always living in the future.
Yeah.
Living for the future.
Living for the
Yeah, exactly.
Living in America. Anything else? Oh, this is a big story, and I didn't fully grasp this. I'm hoping that maybe you can explain it. I thought this was just rebranding. Basically, Nest is now Google Nest.
Yes.
But what is dying really is works with Nest.
Yes.
And the notion of IoT device. For a long time, Google said Nest is going to, when they acquired it, it's an independent company. Tony Fadell, when he was still running Nest, said, don't worry, we're never going to share the information from our cameras, our smart thermostats. We're never going to share that with Google. Last year, Google said, come here, and made Nest part of Google.
Yeah.
This year, they're even basically saying the Works with Nest thing is dead. It's all Google now. And I wonder if people are going to be aware of that. I mean, they're going to be aware of the very infelicitous naming, like the Nest X Yale lock with Google Nest Connect.
It just rolls off the tongue.
The Google
I
Nest
love names
Hub
like
Max. But more than that, I think that
New Google Nest Cam IQ
Nest
outdoor.
is gone, right? This is the beginning of the end for the idea of Nest as a separate company.
Ish.
Ish.
It is the beginning of the end as a separate company. So I'm actually looking into this right now to kind of, because the article...
Ron Amadio said Nest's smart home platform is dead.
Yes. So it's... Okay, fine. Nest is dead, but it's not dead. It's still there. It's just the Google Assistant
I'm not dead
now.
yet.
It's not dead yet. It's just unifying these two different platforms to make it easier, first of all, for marketing. It's going to make it much easier. It's going to make it easier for smart home novices to kind of understand like what works with their products. And it's also worth mentioning that the technology that's in this Nest Hub Max, which has a camera in it, is not at all like the technology that's inside a Nest security camera, which costs about the same. So I asked for some clarification on this and how it works. It's a completely different facial algorithm.
Oh, interesting.
So you actually...
Because it sounded like a Nest camera built into the hub.
I asked about that. I said,
it's
okay, so from what I understand is that you can go into the Nest app and view the camera feed just to have it there if your concern is security, because you still have to
And
access.
they did say it would recognize people like the Nest IQ does.
Yes, but you have to have them. You have to record the face, so you have to teach it the faces in your house.
Oh, so
It's
there's
all
a
done on
training.
device.
It's all on
So the
device.
Nest IQ, and by the way, it never worked as far as I could tell. Theoretically, it would start to recognize you after a while.
It does work.
Does it work for you?
It works very well
Because
with
we
the
got
Nest
one
Hello.
here. There
The
it
Nest,
is.
the Nest Hello, it works particularly
That's
well.
the doorbell.
Yes, the doorbell, which is the same camera infrastructure. And you don't have to pay for this camera either. So you don't have to pay for Nest Aware if you want to keep any
You
of
don't
the
have to have
security
the
footage.
subscription.
Nope. It's just completely the idea.
So Mario says that Works with Nest is, the website says Works with Nest is winding down. Nest's ecosystem, and this is the concern, will shut down August 31st. Does that mean if you have Works with Nest things like this IQ camera, it's going to stop working?
No.
They're going to transfer it over to Google.
We need to get. I'm working on getting clarification for
Good. This
that.
is what
I'm
I
actually
wanna know.
doing some independent reporting of my own right now,
Thank
but
you.
everybody is very tired after Google I/O, so we're giving them a break right now. But from what I understand, is you're still going to have to pay for like the Aware subscription to be able to have those features, because there's a security system to take into account. There's a thermostat. There are smoke detectors. You know, it's a whole ecosystem of home things. And I think they're just bringing the Nest in because that brand loyalty exists everywhere now. Like, people know Nest. They don't necessarily know maybe that Google is a big driving force behind it.
So Lutron, which is a works with Nest light switch thing,
yes,
sent a notice to its customers saying the ability to automate lighting function based on the Nest's home and away status, person alerts from Nest cameras, or smoke and carbon monoxide detection from a Nest Protect will be affected by the change. It will remove the ability to control the Nest thermostat from within the Lutron app. This is Dan Seifert writing on The Verge. Echo won't be able to adjust the thermostat anymore after August 31st or display Nest Cam feeds. So this is that ecosystem, a third-party ecosystem. Logitech Harmony remotes won't be able to change Nest alarm and home away modes. Hue lights will not be able to change color when Nest Protect detects smoke or carbon monoxide. These are things I didn't rely on, but I bet you a lot of people set up homes.
I have.
To do all this.
Yes.
Are you concerned that everything's going to break?
No.
You think Google's going to come... We're going to get a second post from Google that says, oh, don't worry, we're going to take over those features.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Because from what I understand, it's like Ifttt. So a lot of these things that are mentioned are little Ifttt triggers, and that is going away because
they did say
Nest,
that's going away.
Yes, because Nest is just they're just gonna go away, but they're going to replace it with the Google Assistant.
So they'll have a Google, in effect, a Google Ifttt inside the assistant.
They already do with routines.
Yeah. Okay.
When you.
But does that mean you're going to have to go through all of these devices and set up new triggers?
That's what I want clarification on, but I'm going to think that probably yes, and I know that's annoying, but it makes it less fragmented for everybody across the board.
But it is a pain point for people who, you know, look, home automation sucks. And there are people like you, probably more because it's your career than because you really would do this if you didn't.
No, I find it
you would do it anyway?
Very fun.
People like you and Stacey Higginbotham just baffle me. Because I just like, you know, my Hue lights turn on when I walk by them. That's the complete extent of the integration.
I've got moods, I've got situations and scenes.
So people like you, and we just don't know how many people like you there are. I know two, but you're going to kind of, potentially, you're going to be in a world of pain if you have to go back and set this all up again. It was bad the first time.
No.
No?
No, because I did it all through the Google Assistant.
Okay.
I did. I went in and I redid it with the Google Assistant. I just linked everything through that. And so that's where I have my routines now.
There's some weird gene that you and Stacey and people like you have. Am I wrong?
I genuinely, well, because it's my, so I'm...
You don't do this, do you, Jason?
No, I don't really go nuts with the automation.
I find it very painful.
It's painful.
I'm a homebody. I love to be at home. I love to work on my home.
Nesting. It's nesting.
It is.
Oh, whoa! Wait a minute. There's some crossover here.
Microsoft's word just told me I said a bad thing.
Well, I'm also a Taurus, so I love to sit around.
Is it a kind of nesting, do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Nesting with Nest.
The entire, so my house, I have set up how all the audio is. I have set up where there is audio, where there are lights. I have set up this whole grid in the house for automation because for me, it was another way to invest in my home and to kind of like make it this place that's mine.
Yeah, it's nesting.
Yeah.
That's me. I love to
really
nest.
Interesting. It's the new nesting.
It's in my DNA.
Huh.
Do we learn anything about Alexa in this? I mean, as
well,
Nest
she's kind of out of luck.
I mean, is she like losing her?
No, it actually says in here. Where did I see that? Special
Let's
treatment.
call it Echo. Currently has 2 works with Nest skills that allow it to control Nest thermostats and cameras. As a direct competitor, this is Dan Seifert in The Verge writing, it's highly unlikely Google will offer support for Echo controls in the new Works with Google Assistant program. Quote, a Google spokesperson, "We're still working on ways for our customers to continue to use other systems with their Nest products after account migration and when the Works with Nest service shuts down." In other words, they're equivocating. They're not saying.
On the Nest support site, there is a page specifically for Amazon Alexa. And it says, we are working with Amazon to migrate the Nest skill on Amazon to ensure a smooth transition.
Okay, you're right. Okay.
Prior to winding down the Works
The
with Nest
Nest
program.
is undisturbed. You may continue to build.
Oh, I will.
If you have an Amazon. Or, yeah.
Do you like when you're done? Is it like depressing? Like, do you want to do more?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you get new stuff so you can nest with it.
Yes, and because I'm a freelancer, I got to sell work.
You got lots of time.
So,
And-
I need to
okay,
come up
so
with stuff.
like I said at first, there's a
crossover,
business component.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's also a business component, but I am a busy person. I do not have the money to hire help.
I never
so
understood
I
it.
invest in these things.
I've never understood it, and I have bought all of this because I, like you,
Right,
I'm
right.
trying to make a living doing this. But it's just, oh God.
No, every day my lights are always on in my bedroom when I need them to be after the sun has gone down.
I have a thing called a switch that does that.
Why have a switch?
Well, I'm not in the room, so I walk in, I flip the switch, now they're on.
Okay, but when you're carrying 2 laundry baskets up the stairs and it
That's
is
why I
dark
don't do laundry.
upstairs.
That's why.
You need a
See?
motion detector, though, that when you walk into the room, it
have
flips
that.
on, and then when you walk
have
out,
that.
it flips off. Then you save
They
the
don't
energy.
work like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Saves
They
the
don't really
energy.
work like that,
My
unfortunately.
lights just turn on at random times. We'll be sitting in the living room, all of a sudden the lights will come on. It's like, was that a cat? What happened? Something, ghost walked through? What happened? All right.
The ghost thing is.
There are ghosts.
I've been thinking
It's
about getting an
proof.
echolocator, but anyway, that's
There
another story
are
for another
ghosts.
day.
We'll have to talk about that.
Yes. Halloween special for later this year.
Anybody here? Show of hands. An Uber millionaire? Anybody? Anybody? Okay. There are a few. There are a few Uber billionaires too. Uber's IPO. We're going to talk about that in a second.
Ouch.
You know who was a big investor early on in Uber? Gary Vaynerchuk and Jason Calacanis.
They're doing all right.
It
right
makes
now.
me. It almost makes me throw up in my mouth to think that Gary Vaynerchuk is now a billionaire because of Uber. It's just everything wrong with technology, and I like Gary, but that's just everything wrong with technology.
If only I were a billionaire for being an early adopter.
Olivia Munn, she was an early investor in Uber too. Wow.
Where did you get your money?
Well,
TV.
that's the thing. You could be an early investor
Yes.
for $100,000.
What about $100?
No. No.
No soup for you.
We'll talk about that. We will. It actually was the worst performing IPO in U.S. stock history. That's the funniest thing.
They lost $6 billion worth
In the
of
first
value,
day,
yeah,
right?
first 5 hours.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
yet, there's like a dozen people that are made billions off of this thing.
Yeah.
It's just something. There's something weird about this. Uber has never made money, right? Ever. They've only lost hundreds of millions of dollars a
They
quarter.
bleed it.
They bleed money. And Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk in yet another Twitter feud. But first, a word from Wasabi. Actually, before I do the Wasabi, I think we have a. Do we have it? We have the. This is so exciting for me. We have made a small documentary film about the last few days here at Twit. Watch.
Previously on Twit.
So today I thought we would talk about memes.
Memes.
Since we're young, we're hip.
We're with it. We know what
We
the
know
kids
the
are doing.
memes.
YOLO, FOMO, FTW.
I stand for that. I stand for that.
Twit Live Specials.
But what we're excited to announce today is that Edge will offer built-in support for Internet Explorer.
Wait a minute.
60% of
Wait a
enterprises
minute.
worldwide
Is that Inception?
use IE
Edge
because
will
they
offer
have
built-in
internal sites that
support for
require
Internet
legacy
Explorer.
compatibility. The site opens in the same window
Oh, man.
and in the same tab.
All of a sudden, we're transported
with
back to
IE buttons.
1997.
So no more jarring experiences when you hit an internal site that needs Internet Explorer.
Hands-on tech.
Hey, I'm Sam Abul-Samad, Principal Analyst with Navigant Research, and today we're taking a drive in the Kia Niro EV. You have plenty of room to use it as an everyday car, and especially when you consider all the standard features, especially the safety features like the adaptive cruise, the lane keeping, the blind spot monitor. This is actually a really good value for what you're getting.
All about Android.
Florence Ion and I sit down with Steph Cuthbertson and Chet Haas, both from the Google Android team, to talk all about the big announcements at Google I/O.
We really want to just give users transparency and control. You should be able to know who has my data, who can they share it with, and we want to make that really easy.
Twit.
Cheers.
It keeps going and going
I love talking
and going.
She's incredibly smart, too.
Is she?
She's
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I was impressed just with her presentation. I
Yeah.
have to watch the show. Yeah. Yeah, that's neat. Yeah. By the way, the Nero car of the year, according to Popular Mechanics. EVs are taking off. Our show today brought to you by Hot Cloud Storage. It's so hot, it's wasabi hot. If you, it's the best name. Actually, I have to say, good friend David Friend, who created this. He was the CEO of Carbonite, a serial entrepreneur. He created the ARP synthesizer way back when. He's really a neat guy. His CTO, Jeff Flowers, invented and patented something at Carbonite that is huge. The ability to lay data on disks, not in blocks or sectors as your computer does, but sequentially, which speeds things up about 6 times faster and 80% cheaper than the better known, let's say it, Amazon S3. Wasabi, people are moving to the cloud. I understand that. The cloud is the focus of so many businesses. According to the Gartner Group, by 2025, 80% of enterprises will have shut down their traditional data centers. That means they'll be migrating to the cloud because of cost savings, operational efficiencies, the ability to scale, and I would submit that data in the cloud is often more secure than your on-premises data. Well, especially if it's wasabi. Let me talk about wasabi. 11 nines of durability, and they have something called immutable storage. You can say some of the data you've stored in wasabi cannot be changed. It's immutable. It cannot be harmed by ransomware. It cannot be affected by fumble-fingered employees. They've got multiple data centers. It's as secure as can be, and it's enterprise-class cloud storage. It's 80% cheaper and 6 times faster than Amazon's S3. And it uses the S3 API, so it's just as easy to use. You already have all the tools you need. This is disruptive technology, but they've got a problem. People know Google Cloud. They know Azure. They know S3. I want the world to know about Wasabi, and I know you're going to look at the other ones, but please add a 4th name to that list. Wasabi, wasabi.com. HIPAA, FINRA compliant. It's totally secure, totally reliable, and the price is right. Not only is it less expensive, they don't charge for egress, so it's much easier to plan because you know exactly how much it's going to cost, and you have access to that data at no cost. Egress is free. You got to check it out. Calculate the savings for yourself. You could try it for free with unlimited storage. Normally, the trial is 1 terabyte for a month. Unlimited storage for a month when you go to wasabi.com and use our free trial link. Use the offer code TWIT. TWIT. Join the movement. Migrate your data to the cloud and do it with confidence. By the way, they make it even easier if you have petabytes of data. You can move petabytes at once with the Wasabi Ball. I love the name. Get a nice hot ball of wasabi. Put all the data on there, mail it. It's amazing. Wasabi.com, you use the offer code TWIT. All I ask is you try it out. Just consider the alternative, wasabi. A bit of a shock to some Tesla owners. Roadshow had this story today. Tesla uses an old friend in their media center, eMMC storage. But there's a little bit of a problem. It turns out that eMMC's memory can only be written to a certain number of times. Oh. And when it fails on the Tesla, you're pretty much out of luck. It doesn't quite brick the car, but it makes it so that you can't really drive it. You can't really charge it. And here's the worst thing. It's not covered. If you're outside of warranty, Tesla does not stock the part, nor will it service it.
Wow. Wow.
You should just get under there and do it yourself.
Yeah,
right. There's a guy. There's a YouTube channel of a guy who does his own Tesla-like stuff, and he's the only one who has figured out what you can do about this. It's kind of a problem.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that on the way here with all the Teslas on the road, because there are a lot.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about, I guess there's a huge team of people that are programming for these cars.
This is an Achilles heel. Well, the funny thing is Tesla really locks it down, and if you get known as somebody who's doing this, they can literally disable your vehicle. I mean, and Elon is, he's been known to do things a little different.
He's a bit of a hothead.
So I don't know much more about it, but if you look at Roadshow, when the eMMC fails, your car will be limited on how fast it can go. Your climate control won't work. The charging could fail. And this can happen in a couple of years. So
I think you just buy a new Tesla at that point.
This
is the business model.
You buy
out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah, it's kind of like you used it, throw it in recycling,
They
get
probably
a new
put
one.
literally a micro SD card in there.
Yeah.
Probably.
And now it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So Uber.
Uber.
I just congratulate the people who were in early and who made a lot of money.
Please spend your money wisely.
Uber had its IPO this week, got valued at $82.4 billion, which sounds like a lot. But remember that the day before the IPO on Wednesday, Uber drivers struck because they were underpaid.
And Lyft drivers as well.
Lyft drivers. There's been a lot of course, negative news about Uber for the last 5 years. They only asked $45 a share, which was at the bottom of their range. And it was down, what was it, 7% mark by the end of the day. They lost. It was the worst IPO in tech history in terms of first day losses. Congratulations. This is Gizmodo. A little snark. Congratulations to Uber, the worst performing IPO in any sector.
It's like
in
getting
US
a Razzie. It's like getting a Razzie. It is an honor in and of itself.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's going to happen to any company, it makes sense that it would happen for Uber.
Do you not take Ubers? I love Uber. I want Uber to
use
succeed.
Lyft.
Yeah, I usually use Lyft, but I don't do much rideshare.
So my daughter, graduating from college on Saturday, congratulations, Abby, I hope you don't mind me telling this story, has had a few car accidents. None of them hurt anybody or was she hurt, but the most recent one was she drove into a parked car because she was texting. So I said, Abby, you're not going to be driving anymore. I'm going to insist that you Uber everywhere because I think it will be cheaper.
Yeah,
And you can text at the same time.
And you can do all the texting you want. She said, Dad, I'll put the phone in the trunk. I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's try Uber for a while. And I think that this is not unusual. I think a lot of people, especially if you live in a city, are just not owning cars.
Yeah.
Well, how is
you
she?
own a car, but you have
Yeah, but
to.
I live in the burbs.
You live in the burbs.
Yeah.
How is she doing?
She's spending a lot of money on Uber and Lyft.
I mean, it's got to be expensive.
From her point of view, Uber and Lyft are interchangeable. And I think that's probably true, right?
Yeah.
You just use whatever is going to come.
Well, Lyft takes PayPal.
Well, she's got my credit card, so it doesn't really matter.
For me, I have accounts where I'm like, this account is for this and this account is for that. So
I think it's a
really,
remarkable deal because you're only paying Uber subsidized 41% of the cost of the ride.
Dang.
You're not paying anywhere near what it costs. That's why Uber loses so much money.
I do use Uber in Romania.
I rest my case. Why?
Because that's all that works there.
There's no Lyft there?
No, but they also have Uber Eats there. I gotta tell you, it's amazing how much this country has now. But anyway, I had everything delivered to my door, which was not possible when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people. I don't own a car.
You don't?
I use Uber.
Yeah.
And Lyft.
And during the delete Uber period, I for a while thought about it. But I feel like Kalanick is gone.
Yeah.
Khosrow Shahi is I think a good person. Dara is a very good person, their new CEO. I think they're doing everything they can to change the company culture. I feel bad about the drivers, but after all, they're choosing it. If you don't use them, that's even worse, right? Do you feel guilty? I tip them.
I feel a tiny bit guilty, but I don't know. It's just the industry that they're replacing or that they're revolutionizing or whatever you say, or displacing.
Industry. Yeah.
That wasn't so hot. That isn't so hot.
Driving a cab's not much better.
No. It's bad. It's a bad life.
Taking a cab is also not much safer.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't. See, my daughter. You'd think, well, aren't you worried about her? But I don't think Uber drivers are bad people.
I was kidnapped by a taxi once.
In Romania?
No, in San Francisco.
What?
Yeah.
What did he say? You're coming with me?
He did not want to take us to the Sunset because that's like a thing that taxi drivers do not do.
No, because you go out there, who's going to come back?
I know. But so instead of letting us out of the car, he just drove like a madman through like red stoplights and dropped us off at the Tenderloin Police Department.
What? That's not kidnapping. That's just...
He wouldn't let us out of the car. He was purposefully driving forward to not allow any of us to get out of the car.
But why did he drop you off at the police station?
I have no idea. I think he was just having a really bad night. But it was scary.
Yeah.
To say the least.
That would be scary to be in a car and to want to get out and not to be able to.
Because the thing is, I used to take, when I lived in the city and I was working, I worked at a coffee shop and we worked late. And, I would like to maybe go out afterwards downtown and I would take a taxi cab a couple blocks just to go to the BART station. Like I would take money, put it aside just to do that. So anyway, I've had a lot of experiences with cabs.
Yeah.
But at least on an app, you're tracked.
That's cray-cray.
Yeah.
Jeff Bezos has unveiled the Blue Origin moonlander, to which Elon Musk, maybe you can explain this to me, tweeted, "Oh, stop teasing, Jeff."
They have a thing.
Don't forget the winky emoji.
What?
They have a thing.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
Okay. I think it's all good, both of you. There's enough room for both of you.
I mean, there's enough room for their money to drive the race to space, sure. They're obviously bored. They need something to focus on.
I mentioned Daniel Suarez's book, Demon, earlier. I forgot to mention he's going to be on Triangulation on Friday, and he's going to be talking about his new book, Delta V, which is about asteroid mining. I'm waiting for one of these guys to cotton on to the fact that there's money in those asteroids. Go out there. Let's go out there and get them. Forget landing on the moon or Mars. Asteroids.
Land on an asteroid.
Probably hidden treasure on the asteroids.
Oh, yeah. Even if it's just water, there's hidden treasure, and there may be more.
I remember when I visited Blue Origin a couple of years ago, they said there's totally money to make in space. The only thing that makes it not viable is getting up there. It's so terrible.
Delta V.
So
that's the point of the book is the big cost is getting out of the Earth's gravitational force. That gravitational well is what costs you all the money.
Yeah.
But once you get out there and mine the asteroid, and so, well, I don't want to spoil the book. It's a great book. Highly recommend it. We'll talk about it with Daniel Suarez on Friday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific if you want to tune in for the next Triangulation. But that's the point, is that they don't bring it back. They go out, they mine the asteroid, and it becomes material for continued space exploration, including water and vital essential elements. Sorry, I brought it up. Amazon has decided that if Seattle is going to tax our high-income wage earners, we're not going to hire any.
Okay.
The tax would benefit the homeless population, but Jeff Bezos really didn't want to pay that tax. Amazon spent a lot of money on the campaign against it. He says, I think we're not going to hire those 7,000 jobs. The tax is on high-value employees. It'd be $500 per employee on companies that gross at least $20 million a year. And Amazon just says, if they pass that, this is blackmail. If they pass that, we are not going to build those headquarters. We're not going to hire those people. Amazon did the same thing to New York, didn't they?
Yeah.
Long Island, yeah.
Long Island City.
They step in, they step out.
Yep. Good article in Vox. I don't know. It's a long piece on the history of Amazon Prime, but
yeah, that was really fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You don't tweet a lot of links these days, and you even tweeted about that one.
It was just it was captivating. It was told really well, and for an article to be written about something that I didn't know that I wanted to know the history of until I reached the end, I was like, I'm really happy that I read that.
The amazing thing, and I remember this from the Everything Store. The really great book about Amazon is no one knew what to charge for this. They just made it up because they didn't know what it would cost and they didn't know what the value would be. So they had no idea. And I think it was Bezos just said, well, just charge, $76 for it. We'll see.
That's how I negotiate with editors.
It turned out to be the right amount, right? Now they've raised it. I think it's $99.
Yeah, but they keep adding value to that as well.
Yeah, you get a lot for your money.
I thought it was an interesting leap of faith to make, to add in the music service when everybody else was charging for it, and that was one of Bezos's kind of decisions that everyone was like, wait a minute, why would you just include this in Prime? You know, that, I mean, yeah, Amazon's music service has never been amazing compared to the competitors, but still, it worked out all right. Somehow they're able to make those numbers work at scale.
They quote one of the finance guys when they were coming up with a name. Jeff blurted out, he said, "We'll call it Prime." And Greeley says, "I don't particularly love the name. For me, I'd heard all you can eat premium shopping, call it Prime. I was like, prime rib?" But remember, I'm a finance guy. So they did a brand study, a full brand study. They put together a bunch of names, 20 names. Here's 3 names we like better than Prime. Jeff came in, he read the document, he said, "Oh, okay, this is great. I agree. I like Prime." And then laughed. Jeff Bezos' famous laugh.
Couldn't imagine being any.
And you know what? He was right. It's the most successful membership club of all time by far.
More than Costco?
Much more than Costco. Much more than Costco.
Didn't take off right away, though.
Really, it was slow? Slow in the beginning?
Slow in the beginning.
Well, it was hard with the shipping.
Video, when the video aspect was added, it started to move.
Oh, interesting. Because I would have thought that's just like a benefit. That's just gravy. Because I wanted the 2-day shipping.
Yeah.
For me, that was like, wow. Yeah. Now it's 1 day. Yeah, right. It's going to be 1 day. $800 million is going to cost them to do that. So there was a lack of. So Schweitzer says, "I recall the state of it when I joined. When someone orders a $3 toothbrush and we send it to them 2-day delivery, there's no way we can make money on that." So that's why they created the add-ons where, and this always pisses me off. Well, we can't really ship that to you, but you got to order something else.
Right.
But that's why they do that. Here's the timeline.
I kind of appreciate that, though, because that makes the energy that went into
fewer boxes,
packing that,
less
shipping
trucks,
it. And plus, then I feel like, okay, well, if I'm ordering from Amazon, let me do things that I can't get at Target or that I can't get at brick and mortar down the street kind of thing.
This, reading through this also reminded me of just how much of a threat eBay seemed to be at the time that all of this was happening. And now things have just, you know, it's just interesting how the long... In
eBay's
the long
where I
term.
go for old stuff.
I don't go to eBay.
Because I collect Pokemon cards.
But
so, and Sailor Moon cards, and that's where you can find them.
But man, once upon a time, eBay was it.
Very rare Japanese fountain pen from 1976.
eBay. Right.
Where else are you going to get it?
Not Amazon Prime.
And you know, I didn't get ripped off or anything, despite all the ink on my hand.
Yeah. Go ahead and put that fancy pen in your white shirt.
Yeah,
white
exactly.
shirt, no pocket protector. That's how much I trust eBay, right? That's how much I trust eBay.
What about the post from Jeffrey Fowler, Washington Post?
I didn't see it. You know, I thought that was BS. Honestly, we all know that. Okay, go ahead.
I mean, no. I mean, all it reminded me of, because I don't have any Amazon Echoes in my home, but I do have plenty of Google Homes, and I do know that I've visited the website, you know, the settings pane through Google associated to my account to listen to some of those recordings that have been misfired, and they're all there.
So what?
Yeah.
So this is what our friend Jeff Jarvis calls techno panic. And it is, you know, the piece was, and I guess it's an opinion piece, or no, maybe not. It's a perspective piece. It's a perspective piece.
Nice.
Amazon has been eavesdropping on you this whole time. Well, come on. Of course it has. And he's not even saying it's listening to you all the time, although that kind of implies it's always listening to you. What he's saying is whenever you send anything to your Echo, Amazon keeps a copy of it, as does Google. We know. And Siri. And this is how they train AI.
Yep.
What's his beef? I mean, that they keep it too long? Is that what he's...
Well, and that's one of the things Google's going to do, right, is give you a chance to have them throw that out earlier.
Right.
It's like he just found the internet. Whenever I read stuff like this, maybe it's me, because like everybody doesn't know this.
I was going to say, I feel like it's an awareness piece. Some people might not know that. I've known that. And when I saw this first kicking around online, I was like, okay, yeah, I feel like we've known this for a long time. But, you know, there's probably a whole lot of people that have Echoes that don't know what exactly is happening to their voice data, that it's actually being stored somewhere. They don't even think, you know, maybe they don't even know that it's sending it to a server in the cloud. Maybe they think it's all happening on the device. Who knows?
So he says that state legislatures and maybe even the feds should make a law that says if you keep these recordings, you have to get permission. You have to get consent first. Does that seem reasonable? I think that's not a hard thing to do. I don't think it's going to change anything because it's just going to be a checkbox.
Right.
Seems reasonable.
Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah, it's not too much to ask.
You know, I register my
terms
security alarm with the city every year because I test security systems for Tom's Guide. And honestly, I wouldn't mind some sort of program where I can sign up online and, you know, have that, give access to that. Like, just ask me for it. Like, I will manage the maintenance on my end because I want what that service is providing. Just an idea.
And you might get something out of it on the back end, right? If
Exactly.
if it's smarter because of your help, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
So I guess you should read the article if you didn't know that Amazon keeps the recordings.
Well, it is a newspaper, WAPO, and these articles get done on newspapers often because.
Yeah.
I mean, I have been curious to go into my voice recording archive and do what Jeffrey did here, which is to play through them. I don't know if he played through every single one, but I'd be very curious to know what those random few choice moments are.
Most of that
I come across that I'm like,
nothing.
oh, that's just kind of hanging out on the server. Great.
Most of it's me saying, F you, Siri.
Probably.
Yeah, a lot
Probably
of it.
99.99%.
Not talking to you, Google. It's not you.
I say that a lot. I'm not talking
to you. Oh, I'm sorry.
I swear a lot at my devices, I'm afraid. That's all it's revealed to me. All right, okay, I admit it. People probably don't know it. It's a good thing that he did. Here's a first. Hamas cyber attacks Israel. Israel responds with bombs. This is, to my knowledge, the first time there's been a physical bombing attack based on a cyberspace attack, a cyber attack.
Dang.
I don't know if you would consider that proportional, but get ready because this is the beginning.
Yep.
That's really worrisome to me. I mean, maybe it is proportional, but you know, when somebody hurls bombs at you, that's very verifiable. You know, Israel could just say that there was a cyber attack. How do I know that? And it doesn't matter who the players are, by the way. You know, it's troubling.
Now, the attack was against the people who made the cyber attack. It was against the Hamas cyber unit's headquarters. So the idea is, well, we're going to take those hackers out. And actually, I was wrong. The U.S. did it first in 2015. We sent a drone strike to kill Junaid Hussain, who was a British citizen in charge of ISIL's hacker groups. He had dumped personal details of military forces online via Twitter. So we took him out with a drone. So it isn't the first time that we've used force, or anybody's used force, to counter hacking attacks. It really worries me that we're going to see that.
I mean, it's worrisome too because we've already been attacked. You know, the United States has been attacked many times by the Chinese, the North Koreans, and
by the Russians. It's
nonstop. And if we get into a habit of this reaction with overwhelming physical force in response, that's a bad rule to have in place. That's a bad precedent. It could make the world a lot more dangerous, I think.
Let's see. The U.S. Justice Department has indicted a group of Chinese hackers for, among other things, the Anthem attack. You know how I didn't realize this, but now the way we know that it's a nation state, particularly the Chinese government doing these hacks, is when the information doesn't get on the dark web. So if a normal hacker attacks an insurance company and gets a lot of information, they would sell it on the dark web. When a nation state gets it, they're getting it for other reasons. They're not getting it for financial gain. In the case of China, they're apparently collecting information about U.S. military, about Chinese citizens abroad, and
medical research.
There's lots of reasons for them to do it. So the Anthem attack which I think we suspected was, in fact, I think the U.S. government had said was a Chinese effort, is now, according to the DOJ, there's now an indictment. What was the number? 78 million records from Anthem, which is a big U.S. insurer. 78.8 million records, including names, health identification numbers, dates of birth, social security numbers, addresses, telephone numbers, email addresses, employment information, and income data. That's the kind of stuff, if you were a spy group, that would be gold.
So glad to pay all that money to my health insurance provider just to have my data not be encrypted.
Anthem Blue Cross?
They're everybody's.
Yeah.
They're like the giant behemoth
the big one.
of the U.S.
Well, apparently, the same thing with the Marriott hack, the Starwood Group hack. It was government's Chinese hackers who wanted information about travels of U.S.
You want to talk about monopoly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Starwood, it's like...
I don't know if this will pass. A federal law is being proposed that would ban loot boxes. Josh Hawley added again. This guy's young. He must know about technology. He wants to prohibit video game loot boxes. For you olds, that's a randomized assortment of digital weapons, clothing, and other items that can be purchased for a fee. It's gambling, and it's kids. His bill is the Protecting Children from Abusive Games Act.
I mean, I get it.
I think it should be illegal.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're under 18, basically it's gambling. And I know because my 16-year-old spends a lot of money on loot boxes. I always see it on my iTunes bill.
You pay, and then you end up with some sort of collection of something.
Yes.
I mean, that just reminds me of the blind bag toys, right? Like we pay for those toys. They're wrapped up. You don't know what you're going to get inside. You open it. You want the collectible. And then you open it up.
You get the third of the same thing.
Yep.
That's like gambling with my money for my kids.
Holly pointed to Candy Crush, a popular free smartphone puzzle app for you olds that allows, actually, it's the young people that don't know what Candy Crush is.
I
don't think it's the olds
that allows users to spend $150 on a bundle of goods, including virtual currency and other items that make the game easy to play.
Yeah.
I gotta confess, I've probably spent a few $100 on Pokemon.
Oh, I've spent so much money on Animal Crossing. Nintendo, I've given them so much money.
I have $300 in Simpsons Donuts I'm willing to trade for anything.
It is gambling. It is gambling when you think about it that way. I mean, because I would just throw that money away in Vegas, no problem, just to have fun.
Yeah, it's bad. Samsung has announced its next, you guys will be interested in this, its next camera sensor will be 64 megapixels.
And it'll fold.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Maybe it won't fold.
They may say it'll fold.
It sounds like a lot, except that the current cameras, these are 12 megapixels, are actually 48. So they use pixel doubling or quadrupling, I guess, to give you more light and give you in-plane focusing, things like that. So... But 64 will mean, what if I divide by 4, what is that? 18 megapixel cameras now. So big improvement in cameras. If Samsung makes them, I think most companies are using Sony sensors. But
a lot are.
Yeah, but Samsung, of course, is using its own, and I expect other companies will be buying those as well. And maybe if Sony follows suit, we'll see 18 megapixels as the standard in our shooters.
Who knows? Maybe they'll have 5 cameras on the back.
And they're still going to overprocess every single photo that you're going to take.
Like Apple. All right. One more ad, and then we will give you some the seeds and the stems, the shake, the stuff that's fallen to the bottom.
It's a very California reference of you.
Of our news shoebox.
Shake.
Shake, rattle, and roll. Our show today brought to you by the calming influence of Calm.
I love Calm.
Isn't Calm awesome?
Yeah. I just bought it for my wife for Mother's Day.
Oh, that's a good
gift.
It's not too late. If you're listening to this and it's 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, quick, go to Calm and get 25% off a Calm premium subscription. CALM.com/twit. I love Calm. It's not just meditation, although, that's the first thing you think of is meditation. And they do have kind of a daily Calm, which is kind of a daily meditation exercise. But there's so much more. There's sleep stories. We've talked about these before. You can have Matthew McConaughey reading you a bedtime story. And the nice thing, I hope they don't take this the wrong way. The nice thing about the sleep stories is they're so inconsequential that you don't mind falling asleep.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
See, if I listen to my audiobooks and then I fall asleep and I miss a chapter, I'm like, oh man.
There's no cliffhanger in the sleep stories.
But I couldn't care less if Matthew drones on
about the Lincoln Navigator.
Yeah.
Tonight I'll be
Dreamy
reading a
story about
special
the
sleep
mysteries
story
of the
called
universe.
Wonder. Before we begin,
it's very relaxing.
As you settle in under the covers with your head easing into the pillow and your
cover,
I'm
body
already
sinking into the
sleep.
mattress.
His like whistly S's really help with it.
Smashing
the flip under the
I have a
covers.
hard time falling asleep.
Let's ask the question. How often do we ponder the depth of the present moment?
It is the, I'm not kidding you. I say this with absolute love, the best way to fall asleep. And I, you know, I mean, they have the Game of Thrones guy, Bronn the Sellsword, Jerome, what's his name? Jerome Flynn. He does one that's awesome about New Zealand. I learned all about New Zealand. Let me play a little bit. Let me see if I can find that for you. This is so great. Stephen Fry. What a great voice he has. So there's a lot of them. So you can pick the one you want. And again, they've got kids' books, Rapunzel. They've got the Velveteen Rabbit. You don't really mind if you kind of Bob Ross doing a little painting.
Oh, I was just going to ask. I fall asleep to him.
Oh, you'd love this.
Yeah, I love his voice
so
much.
Let me see. I can't find Jerome. Anyway, they've got Christmas stories.
Sierra Nevada Stream.
Oh, yeah. They also have environmental sounds. You want to Sierra Nevada Stream? Let's listen. 43 minutes. Plenty of time to get you fast asleep with a Sierra Stream. 200,000 5-star reviews. People love Calm. I love Calm. So you get the meditations.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like Sierra Nevada Stream.
There are master classes, too, so you can learn in parenting, conscious parenting, gratitude, discovering happiness. I think gratitude's important. I always think I should be more grateful.
Practice.
Yeah,
it is.
Got to practice it.
Yep.
Rethinking depression.
Somebody wants to know if they have Sam Kinison to fall asleep to.
Go to sleep! Go to sleep! Oh! No, they do not. In fact, I'm sorry I just woke you all up, but if you're driving, that's probably a good thing.
Okay, there's more show for them to listen to.
Yeah, don't go to sleep quite yet. Elizabeth Gilbert, I love her. Creative Living Beyond Fear.
Yeah, she had a whole book about that.
Eat, Pray, Love. She's the Eat, Pray, Love lady. So a whole class on this. And we're still, by the way, this is nice. You can browse around while listening to the Sierra Nevada Stream. Oh, there's Jerome Flynn. There's Jerome Flynn. Bronn the Sellsword, meandering down the Oxford Canal.
My name is Jerome Flynn.
He's got a great voice.
And tonight, we'll be taking a relaxing boat ride through England's picturesque waterways.
It's very soporific.
Take a moment to cozy up and get
Moby has his new album on Calm.
This
as well.
blew me away. Moby didn't
really?
release his album anywhere except on Calm.com. I'm a huge Moby fan. Here's Moby's
Long
ambient.
ambience, yep.
Long ambience, too. It's all Moby, all new Moby. It's ambient music. And it's perfect. You know, this is not just for sleeping. This is great if you work, if you're writing
focus.
or you're coding and you want to focus. And anytime there's lyrics, it distracts me.
Same.
I like hearing something though in the background. This is so great. Calm, a great mindful app for beginners if you want to learn meditation. Hundreds of programs for intermediate and advanced users. Find your inner peace, increase your focus, learn to manage your emotions, invest in your personal growth. It is the best money you've ever spent. Karsten, what a great Mother's Day gift for your wife. I think that's great. Kimmy's just going to love that. Moms, you're getting Calm. I actually gave it to my daughter. Calm.com/trip, but now maybe I should give it to mom. Get 25% off a Calm premium subscription, but you have to go to calm.com/twit. Get Calm and stop stressing. Calm.com/twit. See, I like to do that at the end of the show.
Thanks.
Because it's a stressful show. People will get upset, and now we feel better. So Singapore, which is not known as the most open-minded, democratic republic, has banned fake news. And they are going to police private chats. They're going to police social media. The Protection from Online Falsehoods and Manipulation Bill. I almost feel like this is what we want to have here in the U.S.
Crickets.
Penalties of up to $1 million and a jail term of up to 10 years for spreading fake news with fake accounts or bots.
So, policing content in encrypted apps, like how?
Well, if it's encrypted, obviously.
Earth, I mean, that's their claim.
Oh, they say they're going to do it even in encryption?
Yeah.
Oops.
I mean,
that might be hard to do.
This might just be promising a little too much. But.
Yeah. Well, we've seen governments do this before, but to my knowledge, WhatsApp, Signal, Apple, none of these companies are offering backdoors to.
Right.
Hey, Game of Thrones. We were talking about Game of Thrones. Maisie Williams has an app. I think this is a good way to capitalize on your basically ending fame now, right? Because it's over. Oh, one more.
She'll find
two more
something else.
episodes. She's really
one more
great.
thing.
Yeah.
It's called Daisy. It's a community to help artists grow in their careers. She did it with her film producer friend Dom Santri. And they launched on Wednesday. Daisy from Maisie. Aw. You go to Daisy's website, create a profile. See, there is hope for social networks.
Gen Z is the future.
Gen Z is the future.
Should I watch Game of Thrones?
No.
Mark?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Probably.
I mean, yeah, it's like watching Battlestar Galactica.
That was a good show.
I've been waiting
That
for the
was a
series
great
to end,
show.
and now I'll watch it.
It's like how I need to watch RoboCop. Like, it's part of the cultural vernacular.
Yeah,
like,
but it's
kind of the same
It's
thing.
a little more of a commitment. RoboCop's 2 hours. Game of Thrones, 62 hours.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
I don't know how long at this point in my life it would take me to get through that many
If I can
episodes.
do all 6 seasons of Lost,
Yeah.
you can do Game of Thrones.
Okay, well, I did all episodes of Lost as well, so you're right.
Because I
do
came
this.
to Lost after it was on TV.
Okay.
I have never seen Lost. I'm saving it for the nursing home. There's certain shows I want to have something to watch in the nursing home. And by then, it won't matter that it's confusing and never resolves.
Because everything is.
Because I could just keep watching it.
Everything is just like everything else.
There's a helium shortage.
Oh, by the way,
yes.
I totally ran into this in Vegas a couple of weeks ago. We
No
were trying to
balloons
get
for your
we
big
were
party?
trying to get balloons for my friend's bachelorette party. We bought some love balloons, as you do, and we went through to 3 stores, and there was a helium shortage. in Vegas.
A global helium shortage. By the way, helium is also used for mixes for deep sea divers. It's used in airbags. It's used in rocket fuel, MRI machines, fiber optics, and semiconductors. The shortage of helium is not going to get better.
It's used in the production of the Chipmunks series.
Yes. No, they don't.
No,
do it,
actually.
So Party City announced it's going to shut down 45 stores this year.
Oh, the casualty.
I don't know if that's related to the helium.
It is because that's the whole reason people went to Party City, because the Dollar Tree won't do it unless you buy balloons from them.
Oh,
which I also
you've got
learned.
some knowledge.
Listen, we went to a lot of
some helium
places to
knowledge.
get these.
Party City.
She is the queen of $17 wedding dresses and balloons you don't have to buy.
I'm really good at
to get
throwing a
inflated.
theme party, so that's why I'm.
Goodyear Blimp's operation not currently affected by the helium shortage. That's a relief.
They could just fly a plane.
Wow, they're closing 45 stores because of a helium shortage? This is serious.
Why would you buy anything from Party City when you could just order ahead of time from AliExpress for like a fraction of the price?
Because it's balloons. You don't order balloons by mail.
You do from Amazon.
Inflated?
No, but you inflate them after you get them.
But there's no helium.
But you have air in your lungs. You could just stick them
Not
to the
the
wall.
same flow.
You could just stick them to the wall with Scotch tape. That's what
So
we ended
did
up
you
doing.
know that
Okay, well, that
we
goes
have
well.
a national helium reserve?
Yeah,
But they're shutting it down in 2021? Yeah, we
Where
had.
is it?
I don't know. It's floating up there. Helium is extracted from natural gas mining and from the National Helium Reserve.
Yes, it's mostly kept in caves.
Helium is a non-renewable resource. At current consumption rates, it's been estimated that, well, we've got some time left. 200 years will be out. Some of us are urging the recycling of helium. This is hard to do.
Yeah. No,
I bet you they could make helium.
All the helium that there ever has been was created in the Big Bang. That's it.
You can't. Come on.
You can't make helium.
With fission, you could make helium.
No.
No?
No.
You could do it with fusion.
With fusion, you can make helium.
Okay, well, we fused some hydrogen atoms. We got helium. What's so hard about that?
That's so expensive.
What's so hard about that?
By the way, I started watching Chernobyl last night.
Oh, yeah? Is it hard to watch?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, but it's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was the shakes. Those were the seeds, the stems and the seeds and everything else. And I'm sorry about the spoiler. God, I feel terrible. It's like the worst thing I've ever done.
That'll be beeped.
I just blurped it out. It just came out. I apologize.
Sorry, Leo.
The sun converts 4 heliums into 4 million tons of 4 hydrogens into 4 million tons of helium every second. So there is plenty of helium.
Okay, sorry, you're right.
We just have to go to the sun.
You can't make hydrogen. You can make helium.
You can't make hydrogen because it's 1 atom, but you can. Helium's 2 or 3, right? Are we running out of hydrogen?
No, that's still the most plentiful element in the universe.
I feel like we didn't think about this as humans.
We didn't plan our helium.
Didn't really plan like things are going to run out.
We did not think about that.
Party City did not put that into its business contingency plan.
45 stores are just closing down for helium lax.
There's really no reason to go to Party City. Daiso has way better decorations.
Is there a Party City around here?
I don't know.
There is one going in.
Not in Petaluma.
Couple of miles away, actually, over by Safeway.
Probably not going to be able to get helium there.
Apparently,
so
maybe they're not going to end up opening.
No balloons for you.
Mark, I apologize. I know we told you this was a serious show. But it's
by the end, it falls apart.
We are so glad you came, Mark Sullivan. Please come back anytime. Mark is a senior writer at the fabulous Fast Company, fastcompany.com. On the Twitter at The Sullivan. Anything you want to plug?
No,
nothing.
Not really. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you.
Yeah.
I feel so bad. Here we all have big computers and stuff, and he's sitting there with an iPhone.
This is about
That's
all
really
I have to
all
say.
you need.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
I've
that
barely
much.
pawed at the screen.
I guess I'm an overachiever with my 30-inch
Yeah,
Windows Surface Studio. That's
I'll
probably
bring
more.
mine next time.
Next time bring yours. Yeah, that's it. Florence Ion, all about Android, every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, twit.tv/AAA. Oh, that flow on the Twitter. And is there anything you want to talk about?
Yes, actually, if you head over to Lifehacker,
I love
I've got
Lifehacker.
an article up there about what's new in Android Q and working on some reporting on the side to figure out what's going on with Nest. So stay tuned to that.
That's really important because it's clear that it's unclear.
Yeah.
We need to know more.
It's time to know.
We're waiting. So that's exciting. Yeah. Thank you, Flo. All about Android. Also, Mr. Jason Howell, also Tech News Weekly. You'll find him on Twitter at Jason Howell. Do you have any podcasts you'd like to plug?
Well, all about Android.
You're not working for Relay
Tech
FM,
News
or are you, or
Weekly.
anything?
No, I think this is about it.
This is all
No,
you.
but I have a
this is what
podcast
I
on
do.
Relay FM.
I know you do with Andy Anako, the Fabulous Material podcast.
Yes, indeed.
I was giving you a chance.
I know.
I always have Andy plug it too on.
I know he's
Blackberry
really good about plugging everything.
Yeah.
I'm a little more.
I'm terrible.
I gotta get into a better habit of.
I am so bad at marketing of any kind.
Me too.
I feel like I just want to be, the best kept secret in podcasting. And good news, we're winning. Winning. We thank you all for being here. We had a great studio audience from all over the world.
Yeah.
If you want to be in the studio, we'd love to have you. All you have to do is email tickets at twit.tv, and we will be glad to put a chair out for you. Thank you all for being here. You can also participate on our live stream. That's twit.tv/live audio or video there. And if you do that, join us in the chat room. I'm in there. Everybody's in there. All about, what's the name of the chat room? irc.twit.tv.
But if you want to say all about Android again, that's fine.
All about Android.
All right, good.
Twit.tv.
Get the word out there.
We also give you on-demand versions of everything we do because that's what a podcast is. So you can listen or watch at your convenience. Yeah, we do have audio and video. That's not what a podcast is. How do you like those new buttons? I like those. You can go right to the website, twit.tv, and easy to subscribe if you want to do so in Pocket Casts or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube. We even give you a plain RSS feed you could paste into most podcatchers, Overcast, whatever you use. Make sure you subscribe that way. You'll get the latest version of Twit the minute it's available. You can also listen on your voice-activated device. You could say two things. You could say Echo, play Twit live, and then you'll hear whatever we're doing live. Or Echo, play This Week in Tech podcast, and it'll play the most recent version of the podcast, or All About Android, or Material, or whatever it is. I love that about these assistants. It's making it so easy to listen to podcasts. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you soon. Another Twit is in the can.
Amazing.